Hello everyone, welcome to this course, Alteryx for Beginners. In this course, we would be discussing all about a tool called Alteryx. We would be learning its practical concepts and we would be also seeing that why is it so useful. Also, I would be showing you the procedure through which you can use it into your day-to-day lives. Also, we would be seeing that what difference it is going to make and how it is going to prove useful to us. So in this video, we are going to introduce ourselves to this particular tool and discuss about its features so that you can decide whether to go for this course or not. So this is the first video, Introduction to Alteryx. Let us start by understanding that what actually is Alteryx. So Alteryx is a tool that is primarily used for data cleaning. So whenever you have a data set with you and you want to clean it, then 90% of the task of data cleaning can be done automatically through Alteryx. Apart from this, the different features provided by Alteryx are all combined into this slide. Alteryx is not just only a data cleaning tool, but it is also a predictive analysis tool. Predictive analysis means that a variety of statistical techniques are combined from like data mining, predictive modeling and machine learning, which will analyze the historical trends and will make predictions about the future. So for this purpose, we can use Alteryx. If you want spatial analysis, that is when you want to analyze the locations, relationships or basically the proximities in a geospatial data to extract the insights, then you can use this tool Alteryx. Alteryx also acts as an ETL tool, that means to extract, transform and load the general procedure of copying the data from one source to destination, which can then be used to visualize the data or represent it in a completely different format. Alteryx also acts as a data blending tool. That means you can get a data from the different sources and then merge it into a single data warehouse or basically a data set and then analyze it. Last but not the least, Alteryx is a self-service analysis tool. Now, what does this mean, self-service analysis tool? So once you have created something called a workflow in Alteryx, now you do not need to create it again and again. What you can do is simply command the Alteryx to just follow the same procedures that you have done up till now, and Alteryx would automatically do the same tasks for you. Means you can just create the workflow once and use it as many times as you want. There is no limit on using it. You can create once, use many times. Now let us understand that why should we use Alteryx. So these are some of the features that helps us to understand that why Alteryx is so much important for us. First of all, no coding knowledge is needed for this tool. It has a very simple interface. If you have a knowledge of Excel and some of the features of Excel like pivot tables or VLOOKUP, then you can simply use Alteryx for all of your needs. So that is why if you do not have a strong coding background, then you can use Alteryx as well. It has a very simple drag and drop interface. All of the filters or all of the features, all of the tools that you want to use, that you can simply just drag and drop. Suppose you want to sort the data. So we have a sorting tool provided to us in Alteryx. All you need to do is drag it and drop it on your dataset and the dataset would be sorted. If you want to filter it according to a particular criteria, similarly, you can just drag the filter tool and drop it over there and that particular filter would be applied. It is compatible with different data sources. Around 80 plus data sources are supported by Alteryx. That means you can use the data set which is in any format. It could be in the form of an Excel file, a CSV file, or basically a semi-structured or unstructured JSON file as well. You can simply use it in Alteryx, import it in Alteryx and actually analyze it using the tool because it supports a variety of data sources. The integration with the Power BI tools, with the business intelligence tools like Power BI, Tableau, ClickSense is also provided through Alteryx. So once you have created some of the insights in those tools, you can easily interact with that report or with that dashboard using Alteryx. You can actually make a connection between those two and get a better insight of your data. Now, The last but not the least, it is actually the most important feature of Alteryx, that is it provides automation of the manual tasks. So all the tasks that you had been doing manually up till now, you can actually automate them with the help of Alteryx. And once you have automated those tasks and once the workflow is created, you do not have to create it again and again. Simply you can reuse it as many times as you want. Now let us take a look at some of the features of Alteryx, and these are the same features that make it so special. So first of all is that it supports 80 plus data sources, as we have already discussed. The data files that you are using in Alteryx can be in any format, like a CSV file, an Excel file, a JSON file, XML file, HTML file, any type of a file. If it contains data, it is supported by Alteryx. You can simply just use it, you can import it in Alteryx and then analyze it. One more thing, this number of the data sources is actually increasing as new versions of Alteryx are being released. So even if your data source is not compatible right now, it might come in the future. It supports all the formats of data, like it may be a structured data in the form of a SQL. It could be semi-structured or unstructured data in the form of a JSON files. So whatever the format of the data is, it is supported by Alteryx. You don't have to worry about the data format if it is not in a tabular format or so. There are 260 plus automation tools that are available for analytics in Alteryx. Now these automation tools not only reduce our tasks but also make the analysis and the data cleaning process very smooth. Like you want to filter out some records, you want to sort out some records, all you got to do is just use these automation tools through a simple drag and drop and use them on your data set and just see that how it works. You do not need to perform complex procedures, you do not need any kind of a coding knowledge for this purpose, just drag and drop. Report creation is supported from different data sources. That means the different BI tools or the different data sources, you can create reports using those. Like once you have created a report or a workflow in Alteryx, then you can actually use the different data sources for different sorts of visualizations to be combined together in a single report. So this is one of the best features supported by Alteryx. Now, once you have created the report and you want to share it with your team or with different sets of people, then you can export this report in the different file formats that are supported by Alteryx, like PDF, Excel file, or many more. And also with the upcoming versions, this number of file formats that are supported by Alteryx is also increasing. Finally, Alteryx supports the reusable workflows. What does it mean? It means that once you have created a workflow, you can reuse it as many times as you want. You do not need to just perform those same steps again and again and again. You can just simply reuse the workflow that you have already created. So this is about the features of Alteryx. And now, since we know about the basics of Alteryx and why is it so useful, let us see that how can we actually install Alteryx into our systems. So it is a paid tool, but you can get a trial version of 14 days for yourself. So we would be just using that trial version only right now. Okay. So for this, what you need to do is just basically Google Alteryx. Here you will see this website, official website, www.alteryx.com. In this official website, you need to go to this products option. So once this products option is open, you will see that these are these different products that are available, like Designer, Server, Intelligence Suite, etc. From this, we need to go with this Designer product because it is suitable for individuals. So let's just click on this Learn More option. Once you click on this Learn More option, you will go to this home page of this particular product, which is Alteryx Designer product. You can just read all about it, the system requirements and the features of this particular product. Then if you want to install it, you can just click on Start Free Trial. If you want to watch a demo, you can just go with a demo video. Let's just click on Start Free Trial. Now what will it do is, it will ask you if you are a new user or if you are an existing user or whatever. So I'm a new user. Let's just click on a new user download now button. Now what will it do is, it will ask you all of these details. So what you need to do is just actually provide all these details, and once you have provided these details, you can click on confirm. Once you will click on confirm, the downloading process for an exe file will start for you. So That's it. That's the simple process for downloading this particular setup. In the previous video, we have already seen the features of Alteryx and how to actually install its setup. So now, as you can see, the exe file is already downloaded. I'm just going to click on it to open it up and just work you out throughout this installation process. Right, it is a very simple installation process. So first of all, what you need to do is you need to just go with the first option, which is a typical Alteryx version. If you want our programming language based predictive tools, which is an advanced version of Alteryx, you can go for it. But since this course is aimed at beginners, so we are just going with the typical version. The language you can select, I'm just going with English. Let's click on next. Then it is going to download all the required files. So let's just wait for a few seconds till these files are downloaded. Now once all the required files are downloaded, this kind of a menu will appear in front of you where it would be just verifying all the contents of the setup package. So you need to wait for a few seconds. Let's just meet after this has been done. Now it will ask for where to install the application. So you can just select a particular folder, but I'm just going with the default path. Let's click on next. Accept the license agreement. Again, click on next. And then it's again going to take a few seconds to install the whole program onto your system. Now, once all the installation process has been completed, you would be getting just a screen just like this. Make sure this box is checked on and click on finish. Now, once this box is checked on, Alteryx would automatically be running onto your system. Now, once the Alteryx application has been launched onto your system, it would ask you to enter a license key. If you have a license key, you can just enter it, or you can simply click on start free trial. Then it would ask your mail address, and just remember this thing that this should be the same email address that you needed to provide once you were registering, like when you were providing your details, the email address you entered over there, that's the same address that you need to provide over here. So let's just enter this email address and click on continue. Now once you have entered your email address, it would ask you whether you want to include the Alteryx Intelligence Suite in your package or not. So for now, what we can do is just click on this I'll try it later option, because I just don't want to use it right now. And you can click on start solving. So once you have done all these steps, this kind of a dialog box would appear for the tour. We can just click on close tour because we don't need it. Right, so this is how the Alteryx user interface is looking. Let us take a quick look at all the operations that are going to be of use to us. So first of all, we have this menu bar with the usual options like file, edit, view, and many more. If you just hover over it, you will find these different options, right? Next we have is this tabs. These are the different tabs having different functionalities. Like if you want to add some of the tools, then you can use these tabs, like for data preparation, for joining, for parsing, for transforming, for the machine learning, etc. These different tools are available. If you want to use any tools, what you need to do is just go to its tab, get that tool. Suppose I want to apply a filter, just drag it and drop it over here. This place where drop tools here is written, it is known as a workflow or canvas. So you can just drop that particular tool over here, and then you would be able to use it. Now once you've dropped a tool, you can see that something changed over here. This is a configuration window which would help us to configure these tools. Like if you want to apply a filter, what kind of a filter you want to apply, the basic filter or a custom filter. In a basic filter, what changes you want to do. So all these customizations or configurations can be done through this tab known as the configuration tab. Now once you have configured all the tools into the canvas, you can click on this button that is known as the run button to actually run this workflow. The shortcut is Ctrl R, so either you can use the shortcut or just the run button. Then what will happen is you would be getting a result or an output. So this result would be shown over here in this window. This is known as the results window. This is where the output would be shown to you. Right. Next we have is the search part. That is really important, especially for the beginners. Like there are different tabs and the different tools are actually separated in those tabs. Suppose you want to search for a particular tool, like let's say you want to search for a formula. So we can just simply type formula, and you would see this formula is over here. You can just use it like this. You can just drag it and drop it over here like this. Okay, so this search bar would be of very use to us. Next we have is this kind of a plus sign. So if you want to add or remove some of the tools, because there are many tools supported by Alteryx, not all are shown over here, you want to add or remove them, you can just simply use this option. Suppose I don't want this SDK example, so let's just uncheck this, and in case of that I want spatial analysis, right? So let's just check on spatial and click on OK. So what would happen is, as you can see, the spatial has been added over here and the SDK analysis has been gone from here. So this is how you can work with the simple interface of Alteryx. This is just the introduction part. In this video we are going to see that how can we actually import a file into Alteryx. Now Alteryx supports different formats of the file, so no matter if your data is in the form of an Excel file or a CSV file or basically any of the formats that are supported by Alteryx, the importing process is going to be same. In this video, I'm going to import an Excel file and show you that how it's done. Similarly, you can just duplicate the steps for any of the file extensions that you have. So let us start with the video. This is the Alteryx interface and I have already created a new workflow. Now, once you want to do anything in Alteryx, you need to create a workflow, because that is like the basic building block in Alteryx. So let me first show you how to create a workflow. To create a workflow, you can do 3 steps, or basically any of the 3 process you can follow to create a workflow. First of all is in this particular window, there is this plus sign. If you just click on this, a new workflow would be created, like new workflow 2. If you want to close the workflow, of course, there is this cross sign through which you can close this workflow. The second way is that you can just go to this file on the top left corner, and here is this option of new workflow. If you just click on it, a new workflow would be created, or you can use the keyboard shortcut of Ctrl+N to create a new workflow. Now once your workflow is created, as we know in Alteryx, there are a number of tools that are supported by it, and all the tools are available in the menu bar. So the thing that we need to do is actually input the data. As you can see, we have these menus of different colors that helps us to organize the different tools and separate them from one another. So here we need to go to this in and out tab, and here we have this input data. If you see, there is this star sign over this input data, which means that it has been also added to the favorites tab. If you just go to the favorites tab, here is the input data that is present. So if you want some of your tools that you are frequently using to be added to your favorites, that you can also do, so that they are available to you in just one menu without having to switch the menus. But here we are just going to in and out. Just drag it and drop this tool over here. Right now its location doesn't matter, you can essentially place it anywhere in this window. Then what we are going to do is, as you can see, as soon as we drag this tool over here, this left side panel changed a little bit. And why it changed? It changed to accommodate the changes that are going to happen right now. This means we are going to input some data. So how can we input this data? We are going to control this using this panel. Okay, so first option is connect a file or database. So let's just click on this drop down. This shows us this data connections tab, or this data connections dialog box. From here we need to select files. Now why are we selecting these files? We are selecting these files because we have an Excel sheet that is already created, and that is what we want to import in it. So let's just click on select file. Then you got to select the location. So in my case, the sheet that I want to import is present in this desktop, and it's named as quarter1 data.xlsx. That is, it is an Excel worksheet. You can click on open. Now once you click on open, this kind of an Excel dialog box would be appearing in front of you. Let us understand this, but before understanding it, let me show you that how the Excel file is looking. Okay, so this is the Excel sheet that we have available with us. Actually the whole Excel file. In this whole Excel file we have 3 sheets. November 2021, December 2021, and Jan 2022. So basically it contains 3 columns. All of these sheets contains 3 or 4 columns. In Jan 2022 we have 3 columns, which is date, product, and the quantity. In December 2021 we have 4 columns, date, product, quantity, and the total number of sales. And in November we have date, product, quantity, and the number of the items that were returned. Okay, so this is the Excel sheet. Now one thing you must remember, if you are working with Alteryx, that whatever file you're gonna import in Alteryx, first you have to close that file. I want to import this particular Excel file into Alteryx, so I need to just close it so that it could work in Alteryx. So let me just close this file. Let me just delete this tool over here, and simple delete key would work over here. Again, let's just drag and drop this tool over here, and then we can just connect a file or database once again by clicking on this drop down, going to files, select file, and this time this quarter1 data.excel file. Now here we have, as you can see, we had 3 sheets available, that is December 2021, Jan 2022, and November 2021. So if you want to just import only a single sheet, you can just select the sheet from here. If you don't want to import the whole sheet, you just want a range of cells, that you can select from here. Or if you want a named range. Now what is a named range? In case of Excel, if the named range is available, so what would happen is, like there is a table, you can name a table, that would be a named range. So if that named range is available into your sheet, this option would be enabled, and then you can just select the named range that you want to import instead of the whole sheet. Okay, or if you want to import the list of sheet names, that it would only get you all the sheet names in a list format. So I don't want all of this, I just want to import the sheet, that is the December 2021 sheet. This is what I want to import. Now you can click on OK, and once you click on OK, you can see the left panel has again changed, and this time we are getting a lot more information. First of all, on this bottom panel you can see the records are being shown. Since our sheet was small, the number of records were less, around 6 to 7 records were there, so all the records are being shown over here. But if your data set is huge, then only the first 100 records will be shown in this preview tab. As you can see, the message is written here, preview first 100 records, so only the first 100 records would be shown. Now if you want to make any changes over here, this is the configuration panel that would allow you to make the changes, right? Like you can set the record limit. Suppose there are 7 records, but I don't want all 7, I just want the 5 records to be shown. I can simply type here 5, but as you can see, there is no change. So how can we incorporate this change? Either we can click on this refresh button, so only the 5 records would be visible. Or what we can do is, if you want to use this output panel. So what is this output panel? This is an output panel that actually would import or show you the changes that would occur once we have made any changes into the tool, right? So we can just use this run button or the shortcut Control R to incorporate this output panel. And as you can see, once you click on the run button, this dialog box would appear that would tell you that how much time this whole query, this whole process took into consideration, that is 0.04 seconds. So let's just click on OK, and now you can see the 5 records have been displayed. You would get plenty of information in this output panel as well, like how many fields are there. So there are 4 fields and all the fields of this are being shown. Okay, if you click on this drop down, you would be able to change these fields if you want, like all these fields are available. Let me just, like all these fields are checked right now. Suppose I don't want to get the date, I just want all these things. Okay, these 3 things, so only these 3 things are visible, and here we are getting information that 3 out of 4 fields are being shown. You can just hide all fields or click on this tick sign to show all the fields. Okay, then we have the format that is being displayed, which is the cell viewer format. If you want to get the information about the particular cell, that you can get, like what is the name of the column, what is its type, what is its size, where is the source file, etc. So all of this we are getting in the cell viewer information. How many records are displayed over here, this is also being shown. So this is the data that we are getting. Next option is a metadata option. So if you click on this metadata, you would be getting information about the data, like the cell viewer option that we just selected. This is all available over here, the name of the column, its type, its size, and its source. If the description you have added any description, that would also be shown in this metadata. Let's just go to data because that's what we are going to work upon. So this is about the output panel and the records or the information that it displays. Now let's head back to this left panel, that is the configuration panel. In this you can see the file format is Excel. If you want to change any of the file formats, you can just select from these. These are all supported by Alteryx. Now we have output file name as field. Now what is this thing? Suppose you are importing multiple files in one go, okay, and you want to know that which field belongs to which file, so you can use this particular option. Like right now it's said to no, let's just select file name only. Now if you just click on run, remember one thing, once you have made any change, you have to click on run. You will see that it would give you the name of the file, of the Excel file from where you have taken this data. Right, so this is actually how the Excel file is imported in Alteryx. It is a pretty simple process, and as you can see, it's very easy and gives you so much information about the data. In this video we are going to see two things. First of all, we are going to see that how can we save an Alteryx file or an Alteryx workflow, to be more precise. Next we are going to see that how can we import multiple files into Alteryx. Okay, so first of all, let's see how can we save a workflow. This is the workflow from our previous video itself that we have created. So how do we save it? We can just go to file. There is this option to save with a shortcut Control S that you can select. You have to select the path where you want to save. So whatever path you want, that you can just select. So this is this Alteryx files folder where I want to save it. Okay, you can give it any name, like let me just give it Excel1. Okay, and the extension is going to be yxmt. That means it is a workflow file. Okay, then you can click on save. Once you have saved it, you can see the workflow has renamed itself to excel1.yxmd. Okay, so that's a pretty simple process of saving. Now what we can do is create a new workflow from here and just close this workflow. So the new workflow that we have created is now going to help us import multiple files. So first of all, let's take a look at the files that we want to import. Okay, so we have this folder called CSV in which we have two CSV files, data 2021 and data 2022. Okay, data 2020. So what is a CSV file? CSV stands for comma separated values, in which all the records are separated by commas and are placed one beside the other. So if you just open it with the help of a notepad, you can see this is how this file is looking. The names of the column is series reference, period, data value, suppressed, status, units, magnitude, etc. There are columns, and then these are all the values of the columns, and as you can see, they are all separated by commas. These are the commas that are going to separate them one from the other. Okay, so this is the CSV files that we have. The name of the folder is CSV. It is present in the desktop, and the two files is data 2021 and data 2020. Okay, so the common thing between them is the word data and the first two characters of the year, that is 20. Okay, or actually the first three characters. Okay, so let's see how can we work with it on Alteryx. So let's just bring our workflow. Let's just input the data. So this is the tool, drop it over here. Now what we are going to do is just click on this drop down. The process of importing the file is going to be same. Okay, let's just click on files, select a file, and here this is the CSV folder, and now if you want, you can just select any of the file that you want to import. Okay, so this is this data 2021. Let's click on open. Now what would happen is the first 100 records would be shown to you if you just click on run this workflow. Then in the case of the output, you will get the time it takes to execute it, which is 0.6 seconds, and you would see how many columns are there. There are a total of 14 columns, and 5,000 records are being displayed. Now why the 5,000 records are being displayed? There are a total of around 20,000 records. Okay, so in the case of a huge data set, we get only few records to be displayed in this output panel. Why is it? Because in the output panel, the maximum allowed limit is 1 MB. So how many records you can get in 1 MB, only those records would be displayed, right? Like in this case, we have 5,102 records out of the total number. Now these are sufficient to get you an idea of the fact that how the things are gonna work. So it's okay, but here in this case, what we are getting is only the records of the table of the sheet that is data 2021. We are not getting 2020's data, right? So how can we get multiple files? How can we like import multiple files into Alteryx, right? So for this we are going to use something known as the wildcard characters. Now there are multiple wildcard characters that are available, but here we are going to use the asterisk wildcard character. And how are we going to use it? Here you can see when we import a file, you get the path of that particular file. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just remove this thing. And as we saw that the common ground was data space 2020 or 22. So the last digit was different, just the two files, rest of the name was same, right? So what we are going to do is after data, I'm just going to put an asterisk and click on enter or click on refresh. Now once I do that, all the data files over here are being imported. So let's just wait for a few seconds. Right, if you just click on this, you would get the file over here, the link that was shown to you. So here what we have done is actually I have reduced the number of records in both the files. And why I have done this? This step is done to just show you that how these two files are actually taken together. Okay, so let's see how it is happening. Right now what we are getting over here is two warnings. It is fairly normal. It's just because the number of records were or the number of fields are different for different records. Okay, so if you just click on this output column, we are getting total 13 records that are being displayed. Okay, now these 13 records are actually from a combination of both the files, that is 2021 and 2022 or 2021 and 2020. Okay, now how do we verify this? In order to verify this, we are going to use this fourth field, that is output file name as field. Right now it's selected to no. That means we do not know which records belongs to which file. But if we just select it to file name only and click on run for the workflow, then we would be getting this dialog box. Let's just click on OK, and we just click on this output panel. Then you can see the number of fields has changed to 15, and here is this file name field where we are getting 2021 data and 2022 data. Okay, so here you can see the first 6 records are from 2021 data and the remaining 7 records are from 2022 data. A combination of total 13 records is being shown over here. That means there are a total of 13 records that are being displayed to us. Okay, now let's just see what all things we can do over here, and that is like just keep it to file name only. Here we have some information like the delimiters information. So what is a delimiter? Like in comma separated values, the different values are separated by a comma. So that means comma is a delimiter. It separates the values, right? So comma is taken as a delimiter. If you have like a JSON file or an HTML file, then of course comma would not be the delimiter. The delimiter would be different. So whatever character you want as a delimiter, that you can use over here. Next we have first row contains field names. So in order to understand this, let me just open the CSV file in Notepad once. Okay, so here is the CSV file that I have opened in Notepad. This is the first series of commas that we are getting, and this is actually the column names. So this is the first field, that is series reference, period, data value, suppressed, etc. This is all taken as the field name. So this first option that we have, let me just close this file. This first option that we have, first row contains field names. If it is checked, then the first row is selected as the field names. If we just uncheck it and run it once again, then what would happen is, let's click on OK, show the output. You can see field 2, field 3, field 4, like this all the field names are being shown to us, and the first comma separated values that we had would be taken as a record itself, right? So which is of course not correct. So let me just rectify it by again running it by checking that particular option. Okay, Next we have all these information, which is actually not that important, but it is there to just give you much more information about the data. One thing is ignore delimiters and quotes. So suppose we have some values into our data which actually includes the comma, like apple comma banana, which are not two separate values. So to tell the computer this thing, what we can do is actually include it in quotes, and that would be ignored as a delimiter. So if you want to ignore anything as a delimiter, that you can do. Okay, so this is all about the multiple files. There is one more thing that we need to know, and that is, suppose we make some changes into the folder. Let me just go to the CSV folder and let me just copy this file and paste it. So suppose there is a change in the folder. Let me just rename it to 2020 underscore data. Okay. Now what happens if I have added another file, or if I remove some files? Okay, we can just click on run, and now if you just click on this output, you can see the total number of records displayed is 20. So this whole process is now automatic. If any changes are being made into your data or into the folder in the files, that would be reflected automatically in Alteryx. That's the beauty of this. In this video, we are going to talk about the data types that are supported in Alteryx. So as we know that Alteryx is a self-service data analytics tool, it makes the process of ETL easier, and it is a super tool that combines the functionalities that are required for the steps of data preparation, geospatial analysis, and data science. Mainly, to support all these functionalities, Alteryx uses these 5 data types. These are the 5 data types that are supported in Alteryx, which are string data, numeric data, date and time data, Boolean data, and spatial objects. Once the data is brought into Alteryx, the Alteryx data type is applied to the entire column and each value within that column. Alteryx tends to use the best suitable data type for the data coming from the databases or the structured files such as Excel within the Alteryx table. Now let us look at all of these data types in detail one by one. So first of all, we come to the string data type. String data represents only text. Even if the data is numeric or spaces or special characters, if a string consists of numbers, it is ideally advised to first convert it to the numeric data type. Then you can just perform the calculations into it. The string data is the one that is kept as it is. It is further divided into these 4 categories, that is string, v-string, w-string, and v_string. String and w-string are of fixed lengths, and you have to set the predefined length of the string. So suppose you have set it to 100 characters, then every time it would take 100 characters. The w-string can hold more international characters. Now we have v-string and v_w-string. It stands for variable. The v here stands for variable. That means we cannot set any predefined length, or we should not send any predefined length, and it adjusts itself according to the length of the text of the value that it is going to hold. Next we have is the numeric data type. Numeric Alteryx data types are the ones that contains only the numbers. It stores the numbers that could be represented by either a single digit or by multiple digits as well. We have different combinations in this, like byte, integer, fixed decimal, float, and double. Byte and integer are the whole numbers. Fixed decimal, float, and double include a decimal number as well. Byte is a small number. Then we have integer, which has more significant numbers. As you can see, their range as well in the examples. Then we have fixed decimal, which is used for currency, and float and double. So this is fixed decimal, which is used as a currency. That's a numeric value with a decimal. Next we have the float and double, which are used for most precise numbers. Float and code are not good because it comes to comparison, they are never equal. Float is generally used to save the memory. Now the next data type we have is the date time data type. In Alteryx, the format of date, time, and date and time combined together are fixed. So you will need to do some manipulation on your data if it is not in the format that you need as generalized by Alteryx. Sometimes it is very difficult to work with date and time. There is a tool known as the datetime macro that converts the date and time in human readable as well as Alteryx readable format. So the format is, as you can see, for the date there is a 10 character string employing 4 characters for year, 2 for month and 2 for date. This is the general format that is supported by Alteryx. Then we have time, which is again an 8 character string, 2 characters for hour, 2 for minutes and 2 for seconds. And the examples have been shown on the right side of the screen. Next we have date and time combined, which is a 19 character string employing 4 characters for the year, 2 for the month, 2 for the date and 2 each for the hours, minutes and seconds. And an example has been shown on the right side. So these are the date and time data types that are supported in Alteryx. Next we have is the Boolean data type. So the Boolean basically represents a flag and it has only 2 possible values, that is true and false. So true means non-zero or 1 and false means 0, or basically any other digit that is not 0 can be considered as true. Boolean is used to basically characterize the objects, categorize them into various categories, or identify them whether the objects are a part of the particular category or not. For example, let's take a student dataset. So in the student dataset, we can check that if the student has passed the test or not. So we can just create, or the data can have a column as passed. It could have values true, false or yes, no. So true, false in that case would be represented using the Boolean data types. Next we have is the spatial objects. Spatial objects are used for mapping and are associated with maintaining the data records. A point, a line, polyline or polygon all comes under spatial objects, which can be used for mapping. It is associated with a data record and they can be multiple spatial object fields in a table. Furthermore, if you want to use any of the data like which cannot be represented in the format of a text, like let's suppose an image or a video or an audio file, then we use the spatial objects again. So what happens is, when you just import the table or any kind of an Excel file, then what happens is these spatial objects are automatically invoked. Actually, there are 2 ways through which this Alteryx imports these data types, like how it uses these data types. So let us take a look at them as well. Data in Alteryx can be brought through these 2 fields or through these 2 tools, that is the autofield tool and the select tool. Now what is the difference between them? Autofield tool is used to select the data type automatically by Alteryx, while the select tool helps the user to decide the data type. So in case you are a user and you don't want an overhead of selecting the data type for Alteryx, you can just go for the autofield tool. So autofield tool is used to read through all of the records of an input and set the field type to the smallest possible size that is relative to the data contained in the column. The tool correctly assigns a numeric field to a string data type where any record starts with 0 and not a number. So in order to configure the tool, we can just go to the select string fields to auto change field type and select the fields to auto configure them. We can use either individually or all the fields at once as well. Next we have is the select tool. So the select tool is used to include, exclude and reorder the columns of data that pass through your workflow, excluding the columns that can limit the data passing through a workflow and improve performance. We can also use the select tool to modify the type and size of the data, rename a column or add a description to it. Now there are other tools that include the select tool functionality, such are append fields tool, find nearest tool, join multiple tool, select in DB tool and spatial match tool. We can use the table to modify the incoming data stream. Each row in the table represents a column in the data. The field column in the table identifies the name of the column in the data and auto sizes to fit the column names without cutting off any text, which is taken up to 40 characters. So this is how the autofield tool and the select tool works in Alteryx. Now as we know that there are multiple tools in Alteryx and each of them have a specific functionality. In case you are interested in learning more about these tools, then what you can do is refer to the official Alteryx documentation. Now, how to access it? Let me show you. So in order to access it, first of all, I have opened up Google, and all you need to do is Google Alteryx help. So once you Google it, the first link that comes up is the home page. Instead of going to the home page, you can select on this documentation link. So what would happen is the whole Alteryx help documentation would be open in front of you. Now, in case you want to learn about anything related to Alteryx, you can refer to this documentation, which is very much precise and clean. In case you want to learn about these tools, specific tools, then you can refer to this menu over here, where all the tools are present and they are configured, or they are grouped together. Like all these tools that are present in the in-out tab are together grouped in this in-out. The tools that are present in the preparation tab are all present over here. You can click on any of these links and that link would be opened. Here you would find the way through which you can use the tools, how to use it, how is it looking, and how you can configure it. Then you can also see some examples that what would happen when this tool is being used, what kind of output you would be seeing. So these are the documentation that would help you to learn about all the tools in Alteryx, but the common ones that are used and the most important ones we would be covering in this course. In this video, we are going to start discussing about the important tools in Alteryx, the tools that would help you carry out the different tasks that are really important throughout your Alteryx journey. So without any further ado, let us start with this video. First of all, before jumping into the tools part, let us download the dataset. Now this dataset that we are going to download is going to be used throughout this course. So it is important for you to have a copy of this dataset for you as well. So how do we download this? First of all, what you need to do is simply Google sample superstore dataset, like I have Googled over here. Now once you do that, the first link that would come up would be a Tableau community. So let's just click on this link, and this is actually a dataset that has the different types of information, like the 5 data types of Alteryx that we have just learned are all supported in this particular dataset. It has around 10,000 records, so it is easier for you to understand the concepts and practice it on this kind of a dataset. It is available for free, so you can use it as many times as you want. Now once this link is open, here you can see this is an Excel file. You can just simply click on download and store it into the location that you want. So since I have already downloaded it over here, samplesuperstore.xlx, as you can see, so I'm not going to re-download it, but you can just save it. Now once you have downloaded the dataset, let's come back to our Alteryx tool. Here today I'm going to discuss about the browse tool in Alteryx. Now the browse tool is a really important tool, and here I have actually implemented the browse tool, but what I'm going to do is just delete all of this functionality and show you once again that how it is working. Okay, so first of all, let's understand what is a browse tool. As you can see, we have in this favorites tab the browse tool is available, but if you check the in-out tab, that's where the browse tool would be present. Okay, so the browse tool is used to view the data from a connected tool. What do you mean by a connected tool? That means the browse tool, if you just bring it over here like this, then it won't be able to show you some data. It needs some kind of a tool. So browse tool is actually a connected tool. Okay, so we can see the data profile for multiple columns at once in a single holistic view, or for a single column of the data. We can see the information on a data type, the number of records, the quality of the data, and a variety of other statistics as well using the browse tool. In case of a spatial report or a behavioral data analysis, the type is connected and additional tab is available in the browse tool that shows the preview of the actual object on a map or a report. Okay, so browse tool, if you just bring it up, let's understand this thing that's green over here is known as an anchor. It has one anchor, that is the input anchor. Now if you just bring up this input data tool, which we have already used, you can see it also has one anchor, but it has the shape of the anchor of the browse tool and the input tool is different. So the input tool has an output anchor. That means the input tool contains the data and it gives its data to some other tool. Browse tool, on the other hand, cannot exist independently. It needs some other tool to exist. That's why it takes the data from some other tool, and to take the data from some other tool, it needs an anchor. That's why to use the browse tool, at least the input tool should be present, so that it acts as an input anchor and this acts as a receiving anchor for itself. Okay, so let us now see how can we use the data or use the browse tool to show the data profile. Okay, so first of all, we have this input tool. Using this input tool, what I'm going to do is actually import a file into Alteryx. Okay, the sample superstore dataset file that we have just downloaded, that is the file that I'm going to import. So let's go to file and select file. Here is the sample superstore file. Let us open it. Now it asks for a sheet, so the orders sheet is what I'm going to go with. Let's just click on OK. So after a few seconds, you can see that here in the configuration panel we have this whole data set. Right now only 100 rows are being shown over here. If we just run this workflow, then we would be able to see it in the output column, but the output would not be shown over here right now. And these kind of errors would be opening. Why? Because of the browse tool. We have used the browse tool but not actually provided a connection to it. So let's see how do we work with it. How do we work around it. Okay, so let's just first close this message. Now what we are going to do is connect these two anchors like this. Drag from the input anchor and drop it to the browse tool anchor. Right, now it's going to take a few seconds, and again if we just run the workflow, then it's going to take a few seconds and then the information would be shown. You can see the percentage of the work that's been done, and once all the work has been done, you would get this kind of a message. Let's click on OK. Now the information being shown in the configuration panel is with relevant to the input data tool. If we just click on the browse tool, then right now nothing is being shown because we have not selected any of the records, right? If you remember, I just told you that you have to select at least one column, or you can select multiple columns as well, so that the information is being shown to you. Okay, so let us just select some column, let's say the category column. If we just select this category column from here, then wait for a few seconds, and the information or the report of the category column, the data profile of the category column would be shown in this configuration panel. Okay, so this is the data profile of the category column that has been shown over here. Just a second. Yeah, so we just select the category column. Here it is being shown, and as you can see, the data type first it has taken is the variable string. So that means the length is variable to just save the memory space. The total number of records, the size that has been taken is 255 bytes. Okay, now out of the total 9,994 records, the total records that are okay is all the records are okay. Here you can see the number of records that are okay and the percentage. So 100% records are okay. Unique means how many different values are there. So as you can see, we are getting 3 over here. That means the 3 possible values for category are furniture, office supplies and technology. That is being shown over here. Then we have some of the statistics of the length. So the minimum length of the value is 9. As you can see, it should be furniture. Then the maximum is 15, which is for office, space, supplies. Then we have the shortest value, which is furniture, of course. Longest value is office _ supplies. Then we have the first alphanumeric value, that is the first value that you are getting is furniture, and the last record must be having the category as office supplies, right? As technology. There are no blanks. That means the particular column is clean. It has no inconsistent data. There is no leading white space and there is no trailing white space. Now there is another reason of choosing this particular data set, because this is a clean data set. It does not have any of the inconsistencies. So for us as a beginners, it's easier to understand and work with these kind of data sets. Okay. Then we have the frequent values. So it would tell you that how many instances of the particular category are there. If we talk about office supplies, so there are 6026 records of the office supplies. That is the most number of records for this. Then we have furniture, about 2121 records, and technology with 1.8k records. So this is the data profile of the particular column that has been shown over here. As you can see, the column is taken over here as category. If we just try to employ subcategory as well over here, so this is the subcategory that we have employed over here right now, and now the summary has changed. As you can see, the number of unique values is 17 now. So there are 17 subcategories, and here is the introduction of the individual subcategories, the frequent values, the graph that has been shown over here. There are 12 more values. You can expand it and see that what is the occurrence of each of these subcategories. Okay. Next we have is the country. So the country, if you just select on this country column, it's all United States right now, so I don't think it's going to make any difference. Then we have the cities, which has 531 unique values for the cities, and how it is being shown. So this is the usage of the browse tool through which it is used to show the different records. Okay. Now, in order to view multiple values, what we can do is actually use the left right view or the top bottom view. Right now subcategory is being selected in this profile, but in this profile nothing is being selected. As you scroll down, you can see that the different columns are being shown over here. So suppose I want to show the segment, I can just click on segment, and the values or the data profile of segment would be shown over here. So here you can see the segment. It has 3 unique values. Consumer, home office are the 2 values, and the third value, as you can see, is the corporate segment. So the data profile of 2 columns are being shown over here using the browse tool simultaneously. So that's all about the browse tool that you need to know. In this video, we are going to talk about data manipulation and output tool in Alteryx. So as we know that Alteryx is a tool that is used for the purposes of data cleaning as well, right? So what we are going to do today is actually I'm going to show you how to clean the data if inconsistencies are present using the data manipulation tool in Alteryx. Okay, so this is the sample superstore dataset that we downloaded, and as I have already told you that it is a super clean dataset. There are no inconsistencies in this dataset. So what I have done is I have introduced an inconsistency, and that is in this furniture. What I have done is I have actually added some leading white spaces in this category furniture. I have added some leading white spaces. Now let us add some more in this subcategory field. Okay, so there is this chairs. I'm just going to replace this chairs value and introduce some leading white spaces. So around 3 white spaces would be good, and replace all the values out of here. Okay, so 791 replacements were made. And this is the change that I have done to introduce some inconsistencies into our dataset and to see that how can we solve it using Alteryx. Now using Control S, let me just save this Excel file and close this Excel file. Right, so let's create a new workflow 3 over here, and just import this dataset. So let's just use this input data, and what we're going to do is connect it to a file. So this is the data set that we have and the orders sheet. Click on OK. So now as you can see, there is nothing that's being shown over here. Let's just add a browse tool. Now there is another way through adding a browse tool. That's you can just right click over here, and there is this option add browse after, and the shortcut for the same is Control Shift B. So you can just add it and click on run. Now once you do that, what would happen is you would get this kind of a message, and of course the records would be shown over here. Okay, so the profiles are being shown over here. Now the changes we made were in the category. Okay, so let's just see the category and the subcategory right now. The changes were made in the category and the subcategory fields. Now if you just hover over this category field, there are few records that are not okay, right? The red line is being shown over here, and that is around 21.22% records that are not okay in the category field because the inconsistency is there. Similarly, in the subcategory field as well, there is 6.17 records, 6.17% records that are not okay, represented by red. So if you just show the category over here and just split the view, so over here we had been shown the category field, and here let's just go with the subcategory field. So here is the subcategory field. Okay, so now what we get, first of all, let's take a look at the category field. That is 7,000 some records are okay, but 2,121 records are not okay. Now what is the reason that these records are not okay? These are the values with leading white space. How many values? 2,121 values. Okay. Similarly, if we just talk about the subcategory over here, so we have 617 records that are not okay, represented in the red color. And what is the issue? The issue is the values with the leading white space. So these are some of the inconsistencies that would be shown into your data profile only. Okay, so how do we just get rid of these inconsistencies, right? So what you need to do is search for that particular column over here. Here as well you can see that the mark of not okay is being shown over here, represented by red, and the rest is green in category and subcategory fields. Okay, in the output pane, and the values that are inconsistent have been marked as red, and the message is the cell has leading spaces. The cell has leading spaces. So whatever the inconsistency is, it's been automatically shown to you by Alteryx. Now how do we manipulate it? How do we clean it? You need to select the column which has inconsistency, click on these three dots. Here we have the option of data cleanse. So you can just go to this data cleanse option. Just a second. And here we have remove unwanted characters, and in the remove unwanted characters, the first option is leading / trailing white space. So that means any of the leading or the trailing white spaces, if there, would be removed. So just select that option and click on apply. Now it's going to take a few seconds and the changes would be applied. Now once the changes have been applied, you can see the red mark in the category has gone from here. We can see them all correctly. The furniture leading spaces have been removed. If you want to cross check it, let's just bring up the category field once again here. So if you see right now, okay is changed to 100%. Similarly, we can do the same thing for the subcategory field as well. We can go to subcategory, data cleanse, remove unwanted characters, leading trailing white space, and click on apply. Now again it's going to take a few seconds and the changes would be applied. In order to cross check it, you can just go to this subcategory option over here, and the OK has been changed to 100%. Now again run the workflow. So if you again run the workflow, the inconsistencies would be introduced once again. And why is that? Because now what we are getting is, we are again getting the data from input. That means Alteryx only makes changes into the format of the data that is brought in front of it, not on the original files. Okay, so that's why using the browse tool, the changes that have been made are only made onto this data that is being used in Alteryx, right? Now once we have changed the data, what we need to do is actually make use of this data, right? So what I'm going to do is output this data into an Excel file, but not onto a single sheet, into multiple sheets. So how do we do that? For this we use the output data tool of this in-out category. So output data tool, let's just bring it up. Now what I'm going to do with this output data tool is, I'm going to select the category as the criteria. So what I'm going to do, or what I'm planning to do, is actually use this category over here to output the data, right? Or basically use a segment to output the data. So what would happen is, all the datas, all three separate sheets would be created, right? So if you just apply this segment, if you just take a look at the segment field, just a second. Okay, so now if we take a look at this segment, then what we are getting is that there are 3 unique values. So that means 3 different sheets would be created in the Excel file. So for this, what we need to do is go to this output tool, click on this arrow here and go to files and select file. So basically we are selecting the location where our file needs to be saved. Now provide a name for the file. Let's say output Excel. Okay, and make sure that in the save as type it is selected as an Excel file or a Microsoft Excel with the extension XLS or XLSX, because then only you would be able to create multiple sheets. In case you decide to save it as an Alteryx database, so multiple sheets in that case is not possible. Okay, click on save. Now it would ask you to specify the name of a sheet. We can just go with sheet 1 and click on OK. Right, now what would happen is, if you just click on this tool, here we have this configuration panel. In this you need to just check this option, that is take file / table name from field. Then there is this drop down. From this drop down you have to select the third option, which is change file / table name. Now what would happen is, this would allow you to select the column on the basis of which you want to create different sheets, right? So here we can just use the drop down to select the value, and that is the segment. So you can just select the segment. Once you have done all the steps, then you need to use this Control R or run button to just run the workflow. Then you can see that the dialog box would be there showing the time taken, and if you just click on this messages, that is this 3 hamburger menu over here, you will see that these 3 sheets were created: consumer, corporate and the home office sheets, and the number of records that were written into each of these sheets. To cross check, what you can do is go to that particular folder which was present in my desktop, here output Excel, the Excel sheet that has been created, and you can see that there are 3 sheets that are available: the consumer sheet, the corporate sheet and the home office sheet. Now each of these sheets has the data that is split according to their segments. All the home office data in this sheet, all the corporate data in this sheet, and all the consumer data in this sheet. So this is how the output tool in Alteryx works. The output data tool is used to output the multiple Excel sheets. In this video we are going to take a look at the few tools of this in-out configuration. So the first tool that we are going to look at is the directory tool. So the directory tool is used to return a list of all the files that are present in the specified directory. It returns the file name and other information about each file, like its size, the date it was created, the last modified date, and many more information. Okay, so let's see how do we use it. First of all, grab the directory tool from the in-out tab into your workflow workspace. Then what you need to do is, in this configuration tab, you have to specify the directory or the folder from where you want to get the files. Okay, so in my case I have already specified the folder, that is this files folder in the Alteryx. Click on OK. Now if you want specific files to be there only, then you can specify the files. Otherwise this asterisk is over here. That means any of the files, any of the file names, dot any of the file extensions would be taken. If you want to include the subdirectories, like if you want to search for the specified file types in directories that are specified within the specified directory, then this box is checked. Otherwise leave it unchecked. Okay, it's only for the specific files, but we are going for the generic ones, so no need to include the subdirectories. Let's just click on run. So what would happen is you would get this kind of an output, that is the list of all of these files that are present in this directory, the full path, the directory, the name of the file along with its extension, the creation time, the time when it was last accessed, last written, the size, and some of the attributes like is it encrypted, is it compressed, is it archived, is it hidden, is it normal, is it offline, is it read only, and so on. So these are all the fields that we would be getting. So this is for the generic files. Let us now search for the specific files. Okay, so we are going with the extension. As you can see, yxmd files are present over here. So instead of all the files, yxmd files are the only ones that I'm interested in right now, and in the subdirectories as well. then click on run. So what I would be getting is only the yxmd files. So there are a total of 7 yxmd files in the subdirectories and the directory of this particular folder. So this is what I am getting through the directory tool, right? Let's just click Ctrl S to save it. Next tool that we have is the date time tool. So as we have discussed about the date time already in the data types video in Alteryx, so this date time now tool is used to return a single record, that is the date or the time at the time when the workflow was run, and you can just convert the value into the string format of your choosing. So basically this is useful that once you are creating any report and you want to show the date or the time of its creation, then you can use this particular tool. Okay, so let's just bring in this tool. This is the date time now tool. Over here it requires us to specify two things: the language in which we want the date and time, and the format in which we want, that is the output format. So let's just get the format like this, where I'm getting the date as well as the time. Now click on run or use the shortcut Ctrl R. So we would be getting a column with today's date and the time at which this was run. Okay, now in case you decide to change the language, right now I have taken English, but let me just go with Spanish. Okay, click on OK, and now what we are getting is the same output, but to get a different output, let's just choose a different format like this. Click on run, and now what we are getting is a different format, like the month name is in Spanish right now. So this is what we are getting. This is the usage of the date time now tool. Let's just press Ctrl S to save it and move on to the next tool, which is the text input tool. Now what is the usage of this text input tool? It is used to manually enter the text to create small data files for input. It can be useful in like testing and creating the lookup tables while we are building the workflow. The data input from the text input tool saves within the workflow, so you can share the workflow without having to provide an input file. Okay, so let's see how do we work with it. First of all, let's just get this input data, that is this text input tool over here. Now once we have got it over here, we would be getting these different options. Like this is the option to import, if we want to import any of the files but treat it as the input that has been manually taken into the workflow. So when we share the workflow, the file gets shared as well. We do not have to externally share the file, right? Then we have the copy. Once we have entered the values, if you want to copy it, if you have already copied the values from somewhere and just want to paste it over here, that's this paste option you can use. The delete and the insert options are there as well. So delete is to delete any of the data that's existing, and insert to insert the columns. So let's just insert a row first of all. So this is the row that's been inserted. If you just double click over here, you can start adding the values. So what I'm going to add is name, let's say Sameer. Then I'm going to add a value, let's say 12, and then I'm going to add a city, let's say Delhi. Okay, so this is my first value that I have entered, right? Similarly, I can add another value, let's say a name, a value, and a city, so Mumbai. Okay, so this is how I can keep on adding the records manually. These are the field names right now taken as field 1, field 2 and field 3, but if you want, you can change them as well by double clicking on them. So the first field name is going to be name, the second one is going to be age, and the third one is going to be city. Okay, so this is the record that I have got. If I just click on run, then what would be I getting is this whole record in the form of a table like this. Now let's just see how the import function works. So let's just click on import. This is the sheet, Excel sheet that I want to import. This is the one that we just exported in the form of an Excel file. So the consumer one is what I'm going to import. So 10,000 is the cell limit for this tool. So that's why the whole sheet was not imported, but I'm happy with it. Let's just click on run. Now once we do that, this whole table is actually a part of this tool, this input tool. Okay, text input tool. Now this means there is no external file being associated with this. If you just delete the Excel file, then also there would be no change in Alteryx, because Alteryx has created a copy using the text input tool of this particular data set, right? So this is the importance of the text input tool over the normal input data tool that we were using up till now. But there is an added disadvantage as well, because in this case Alteryx create another memory of itself to store this data, so there would be an additional memory requirement. So it depends upon you and the requirement of the particular workflow, that whether you want to use the text input tool or the input data tool. Okay, now let's save it. Yeah, in case you want to delete it, suppose I just don't want this order ID column, so delete the columns. So you can just select the column and delete it. If you want to select delete a particular row, like I want to delete this row number 6, delete row, so the row number 6 has been deleted. Okay, so this is how the things work in the text input tool. You can actually make changes into the data set as well without affecting the original Excel file. You can copy it, and if I just open up my notepad, I would be able to paste it as well. Like 6 was selected, so 6 was being copied. If you want to select multiple records like this and copy them, then go to notepad and paste them, so you would be able to create a copy for them for yourself as well. Okay, let's just remove it right now. So that's about the text input tool that you need to know. Now let us talk about the map input tool, which is the final tool in this particular group. So what is the map input tool? As you can see, the name itself is suggesting it is used to draw or select the desired map object to use as an input in a workflow. You can either draw or select a point, line or polygon to form a map that displays a reference base map. Okay, so let's just get this tool, map input tool, over here, and as soon as we get there, there would be a map. You can just select the base map. Right now it's selected to none. Let's just select Alteryx Dark, so you'd be getting a map. You can hover over it to just load any of the countries or the continents that you like. So I'm just going to go all the way to India. Using the zoom buttons, you can zoom in or zoom out and get a location, let's say Kanpur, and here I want to point to Kanpur. So right now, as you can see, the mode has been set to draw, so I can draw anything. So we can just get a point to draw it on Kanpur over here. And if you want to provide it a name, so let me just provide it a name as home. Click on save, and that's it. You can click on run to run the workflow. So what will it do is it will create this kind of a value for you. The label is home and the spatial object is point, view, browse, tool, map tab. So the spatial object has been created using the map input tool. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Alteryx tutorials. In this video we are going to talk about a few tools from the preparation tab in Alteryx. So first of all, we have discussed the tools of the in-out tab. That means the tools that would be handy when we are importing the data or exporting it. Now once we have imported the data, we may need to perform some manipulations over the data, so we would be looking at the tools that would help us to do the exact same thing, the preparation tools. Okay, so first tool that we are going to look for is the autofield tool. The autofield tool we have already discussed in the data types video, that it is used to read through all of the records of an input and set the field type to the smallest possible size that is relative to the data contained in the column. So what we are going to do is, in this particular video, see the practical application of the autofield tool. So first of all, what I have done is I have already input the data using the input data tool. So because this is the step that we have done multiple times till now, so we do not need to again see it. Next, I have cleansed this data. Like in the subcategory there were some of the trailing white spaces, so I have cleaned it. And let me just show you how to clean it real quick, the use of this data cleansing tool. So let me just remove this tool once from here. Now how can you clean the data is, you can just bring in the data cleansing tool, or what you can do is wait for Alteryx to automatically bring it in. Okay, so let's see how to do that. So first of all, you have inputted the data, then you need to just search for the inconsistent blocks, that is the subcategory. Go on to these three dots, click on data cleanse, remove unwanted characters, leading / trailing white space, click on apply. Now once the changes have been applied, click on this green tick icon, that's okay. So now the changes would be applied and you would see the data cleansing tool has been brought in automatically. Okay. Now its configuration panel is also present there, which you can use to further clean the values, but now our data is clean, so we won't be using it anymore, right? The next thing we are going to do is use the autofill tool. So let's just bring in the autofill tool over here. Now if you see, the data preparation tools all have two anchors, the input anchor and the output anchor. The input anchor is used to take the input data and the output anchor is used to present it further. Okay, so this is the autofill tool. As soon as I brought it up, there is this configuration panel. Now here I can select the values through which you want to change the field type. Okay, let's just clear all the values and select only category, subcategory and segment from here. Now once we have selected these fields, click on run. Now what will it do is it would show us the message box. That's okay. Now let's just see the messages that would actually tell us what changes it had made. So the field type of segment has been changed to string for 8 characters, field type of category changed to string of 15 characters, and that of subcategory to string of 11 characters. So this is what the change is made by the autofill tool. The changes that it has made in these 3 fields is being shown to us. In case we select all these fields, let's just select all and click on run for the autofill tool. So what we would be getting is, let's again go to the messages. So we would be getting that what fields it has changed to, all these records. Okay, so you can see some of them have been changed to string, some of them to variable string, and so on. Like this, it has made the changes automatically. So this is the use of the autofill tool and the data cleansing tool in the preparation tab. Now let's just save this using Ctrl S and move on to the next tool, that is the filter tool. So filter tool, as the name suggests, is used to select the data based upon a particular condition. The rows of the data that meet the condition are output to the screen in the form of a true anchor, and those that do not meet the criteria are output in the form of a false anchor. So if we just bring up this filter tool over here, you can see it has 3 anchors, the input anchor, and in the output it has 2 anchors, the true anchor and the false anchor. So we specify a base condition, and if the data meets the base condition, then it goes into the true anchor, otherwise it goes into the false anchor. Okay, so let's see with the example. Let's click on this filter tool over here. So this kind of a configuration box would be there. Now there are 2 kinds of filters that we can apply, the basic filter or the custom filter. In the case of the basic filter, we can specify the basic information, like if the criteria is being matched or not. If we want to apply some complex operations, then we use the custom filters. Custom filters allow us to add functionalities, to add mathematical functions, the Boolean values, the if-else statements, and many more things, which we would be of course seeing one by one. But first of all, let's take a look at the basic filter. So if you remember, we had a column called category. In this we had some categories like the furniture, technology, and the office supplies. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to assign the furnitures separately. That means all the categories where furniture is the category, it would be assigned to a true value. Right, so from the basic filter, let's just select the column. The column name is going to be the category column, and equals, let's just type in the value furniture. Okay, now once you have typed it, you can just click on run to run the workflow, and then you would see that okay, we have 2 anchors. The true anchor, if you just hover over it, it would give you the category furniture, and then we have is the false anchor for the category furniture. Okay, now here are all the records that are being displayed in the output panel for the true value. Here you can see this is the true value being shown. There are 1113 records that belong to the category furniture. Okay, so if you hover over it, the category here is furniture, only furniture, all the way furniture. But if you go to the false value, then what we have is the category technology and office supplies. Right, let's just add another filter anchor over here into the false part. where what we would be doing is adding another base filter on the basis of the category. Let's just select the category again, and it must be equal to technology over here. Okay, click on run, and here. So now we again have these true false values for this. So in the true there would be the technology values, and in the false there would be the office supplies values. So this is how we have used the basic filter tool to actually create three separate values for these. Like the furniture categories are separate, the technology is separate, and the office supplies is now separate in the separate records. Okay, so this is how the basic filter is being used. Now what I'm going to do is just I'm going to copy these two fields or these two tools, that is the input tool and the data cleansing tool, into a new workflow, and show you the demonstration of the filter tool for the custom filter. Okay, so let's just bring in our tool over here, connect it, and here let's just select a custom filter. Right, so here is the fx which you can use to apply any of these conditions or any of these functions. Like you want to convert it, right, or you want to perform any kind of a manipulation over here, you want to apply any of the conditional statements, if you want to allow any date time applications, any of the file applications, that you can do over here, like the string functions. So let's just use the count words. So I basically need it to count the words. Okay, and then from this X you can just select the existing columns. So I want it to select the count words for the city. Click on run, and then it's going to give you the values for, of course there won't be any false values right now because there could not be any false values for the count function, and it would give you the count of the characters of the cities, right? Or basically what we can do is actually use any kind of a basic filter, like let's say if the profit is greater than equal to 1, so that would be a profit, right? So we have written a basic filter query, but if you want to see how it is looking in the custom filter, there you can apply it, profit is greater than equal to 1. Now if you just run it, what you would be getting is in the two values, the true and the false values. So that means the records where we are getting a profit and the records where we are getting a loss. In the case of the true are the ones where we are getting a profit. Here you can see all of these values we are getting a profit, but in these values we are getting a loss. You can see this is a loss. Okay, so if you just go to the messages, you would get that in the 4008 records there were the true values, that means there is where we are getting a profit, and the remaining 1183 values return false, that means these are the values where we are getting a loss. So this is the usage of the filter tool in Alteryx, and this is how we use it. So that's all for this video. Thanks for watching. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Alteryx tutorials. In this video we are going to discuss about some more tools that are present in the data preparation group in Excel in Alteryx. So the first tool that we are going to look in this is the formula tool. So the formula tool is actually used to create new columns, update the columns, or use the expressions to perform a variety of the calculations on the already existing values that are present in the columns. Okay, so we can use it to apply conditional statements, convert the data type from one to another, format the dates, extract file paths, apply algorithms, clean the data, apply the validations, or perform the tests, etc. Okay, so let us see how are we going to use this formula tool. So right now I have got the same data set, that is the consumer sheet, from the sample store data set. Okay, and I have cleansed it, that is removed the inconsistencies. Now let's just bring up our formula tool to here, and in this what I'm going to do is in the configuration panel I have two options. Either I can just select a column and that data would be overwritten, or I can add a new column. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually I'm going to add a new column. So add a column, and then you got to specify the name of the column. So that's going to be profit/loss. Okay, and here what I'm going to do is apply a conditional statement that this conditional statement, if the value of the profit, so for getting the column names we can simply just use a square bracket. So we have the profit value over here. If the profit value is greater than equals to 0, then the value in this column is going to be profit, else it is going to be loss. Okay, like this. And whatever the text for value you want, you need to just write it in the single quotes. Okay, so the size we can just specify over here. It's going to be the data type we can check is going to be the variable string, and click on run. Now it's going to take a few seconds, 1.6 seconds to be precise, and as you can see we should be getting a new column over here. And here on the very last you can see the column profit and loss. If the values are positive, then we are getting the value profit. If it is negative, then we are getting the value loss. Okay, so here is a warning in the profit that there was a large value over here, but it has been rounded up by Alteryx for clarity. Okay, so that's why the red is being shown over here. The red mark is being shown over here. So this is one way of using the formula tool, right? Just like this, you can actually make changes into the existing data. Like right now, if you just don't want to add an extra column, so we want to apply another formula, and the thing is that I want to get the profit and the loss, the same thing, but in this column only. That is the value that is showing me profit. In that value only I want this to happen. So I can just select the column, and here I'm just going to select the profit column. Okay, now if I just click on run, then what would happen is the values in that particular column would be overwritten. Okay, so there is an error. The thing is that we wanted string value, but the field is numeric, so that's why it's not happening. So let me just change it a little bit. That is over here. If there is a profit, then I want 100 to be written over there, else I want 0 to be written over here. Okay, or I can just actually change its data type as well, like it's double, so 100 and 0 would be okay. Let's click on run. Now if you just go to this output panel, and here we have only two values, 100 and 0, 100 and 0. So this is how you can actually update the existing values or create a new column. Now in case you want to remove any formula, you can just go to that formula, and here is this delete button. You can just delete that, and now if you again run it, then the changes that were made initially would be overwritten, and you would be getting the original values of the profit that were present in the column. So this is how we work with the formula tool to either add new columns or update the existing columns, right? Next tool that we are going to talk about is the sample tool. So let's just go to the sample tool. Now what is the sample tool? It is used to limit the data stream to a specified number, percentage, or a random set of rows. Also, if you want a selected configuration to the columns, so to be applied, you can group the columns using the sample tool. So let's just get the sample tool over here. And as soon as we get it, this is the configuration panel that we are getting. The first option is the first n rows. It returns every row in the data from the beginning to the data through the value of n. Like you can specify a value of n. Here you can see right now if we just run it, so it would return the first 100 rows. As you can see, first 100 is being shown over here because the value of n was 100. But if we just set it to 10 and then run it, so what will it do is it would just show you the first 10 rows. Okay, so you can set the value of n. Next option is last n rows, which of course is used to show us the last n rows the value of n, which you can specify as per your wish. Next is skip first n rows, which returns all the rows in the data that start after the specified number of rows. Next we have one of every n rows, that means return the first row of every group of n rows. Like if I just select 10, so the whole record would be split into groups of 10 and the first row in each group would be returned to me. So if you just run it, then we would be able to see the changes like through this row ID, like 1, then 12, then 26, then 48. This is how the rows are being returned to me. Okay. Next is 1 in n chance to include each row. That means it would return randomly. It would randomly determine if each row is included in the sample or not. So the random values are being returned to me, as you can see from the row ID itself. 11, then 20, then 21. Randomly the rows are being returned to me. Okay. So then we have the first n% of rows. That means it returns the n%, in this case the 10% of rows. It requires the data to pass through the tool twice, like once we calculate the count of rows and then to return the specified percent of rows. Okay, then we can just run it to get the n% of rows. That's the 10% of the rows out of the total values. Okay, so there were around 5,191 records, so 519 records, that's the 10% of the records, have been displayed over here. Okay, next we have is the group by option. So if you want to group it on the basis of some column, that you can do. Let's just group it by category and just get the first 10 rows to be grouped by category. We can click on run. So this is what we would be getting in the output. Okay, so furniture categories, then the office supplies categories and the technology categories have been used to group by the values. So this is how the sample tool works for us. Next we have is the sort tool. So the sort tool is actually very important, and as the name suggests, it is used to sort the data. So let's see how it works. It actually takes two things into consideration. Let's just get the sort tool over here. It takes two things into consideration: the name and the order. So basically any of the name of the field that you want to sort and in which order you want to sort, if in the ascending order or in the descending order. Okay, so let's just delete this tool once and let's see how we manually apply it, like without using this tool. Okay, so now if we just run this, we would be getting our hands on the data set. Okay, yeah, so if you want to sort the values, like I want to sort it on the basis of the sales, so let's just go to the sales column, click on these three dots, go to sort, and I want to sort it on the basis of the ascending order, then click on apply. So once we do that, we can click on this this green tick button and you would see that it has been applied. If you just click on the output, actually run the workflow, so here is what we would be getting, the sorted values. Like you can see, the value have been sorted on the basis of the sales, the ascending order. The sort tool has already been applied and the name is taken as sales and the order is taken as ascending. So this is the usage of the sort tool. That's all for this video. Thanks for watching. Hello everyone, welcome to Alteryx tutorials. In this video we are going to see the three most important tools in the data preparation tab of Alteryx. The first tool that we are going to see is the unique tool. As the name suggests, unique is used to distinguish that whether a data record is unique or if it is duplicate by grouping on one or more specified fields. Then it sorts those fields. So if you want some of the fields to be unique, then you can simply check it using this unique tool, that whether the particular field or particular column is actually containing unique values or not. So how can we use it? Let's just get this tool. Just like the filter tool we have used, the unique tool also has three anchors. One is the anchor where it gets the data. The next two anchors are the unique and the duplicate anchors. As you can see, the U and the D. So it basically shows you that which of the values are unique and which of them are not. Okay, now this is the configuration panel from where you can just select the values. Like I would select the customer name. I want to check that if the customer is returning to me or not. So if I just click on run, then okay, I'm getting some of the unique values. So there are 409 records where the customer name is unique. So there are 409 unique customers. I'm also getting duplicates. That means the customers we have are the returning customers. And now all of these values are grouped together as a customer name. Like first you can see Aaron Bergman. So the customer, whatever purchases the customer has made is being grouped together by his name. Then by the second customer, third customer, and so on. Okay, so these are the unique customers. The total of 409 customers are there, and they're returning to me again and again to purchase a total of 10,000 record items. Okay, so this is what the unique tool helps us to understand about the data. Now you have applied it on one field, but if you want, you can apply it on multiple fields. Like for the category also I want to apply, then click on run. Now what will happen is we would be getting the unique values for the combination of both, right? So now in the unique value over here, the total of 1136 records have been displayed. The customer name, if they have purchased from each of these categories, right? So in the category there are these three categories: furniture, office supplies, and technology. And the customer name, as you can see, is same for the three, and the remaining are the duplicates, which means the customer has made another purchase in the same category of the items. So this is the usage of the unique tool. Okay, now let's move on to the next tool, that is the imputation tool. Now what is the imputation tool? Imputation tool is used to replace a specified value within one or more numeric data fields with another specified value. So basically it's used that if your data is inconsistent and contains some of the null values, then what you can do is actually clean the data set. So you can replace the null values with either the average of the values of that particular column, or basically with any value that you want. Okay, so let's just get the imputation tool to get a better look at how it works over here. So here you would get the fields which you want to impute. Now only the numeric fields would be there because that's what we get for the imputation tool. Now what value you want to replace? If there are null values, you can replace those null values, but if the null values are not present, then you can use a user specified value. Next we have is the replace with value, that is with which value you want to replace it. So average, that means average of all values, not including the incoming values to replace. Okay, so basically the values that are already existing, those average would be taken and that would be replaced in place of null values. We have a median value, that is the value separating the higher half from the lower half or the middle value. We have the mode value, that the value that appears most often, or if you want a user specified value that you want to replace, that you can do. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is actually just work for the quantity part over here. Since I know that my data set is clean, it has no null values, so I'm just going to check a user specified value of 7, and I'm going to specify another value for it, that is going to be 8. Okay, that's a minor change that I'm just going to do. Of course it would be undone because it has no meaning, it's just to show you the usage of this tool. Next we have these two check boxes, that is include imputed value in the indicator field. That means there would be a field that would be added to specify whether or not a value has been imputed, or you want to output the imputed value in a separate field. That means the original field would be as it is, but in a separate field the value would be outputted, the imputed value. Okay, so first of all let's just select the first option and run it to see how it works. Here it would take few seconds, and then let's just see if it has worked for the quantity. So now here we can see that it's 8 and the quantity indicator is showing 1. That means the change has been made over here, and on the rest of the values it's showing 0. Again it's showing 1. That means the value was originally 7 but now it has been changed to 8. So this is how the imputed value indicator field works. Next option is the output imputed values as a separate field. So we can just select this option and click on run. Now what would happen is we would be getting a separate value in which the quantity value original field would be as it is, like here it was 7, but in the new values the field would the values would be 8 over here. From 7 it changed to 8. So this is how the imputation works. But if the null values are present on your data, or if you want to replace of any of the values, numeric values only, then you can use this imputation tool, right? Now last but not the least, we have the multi-field binning tool. Now what is this tool? It is actually used to replicate some of the functionality of the tile tool. Okay. Basically it allows the data to be binned on multiple fields. Mainly it is used for the predictive tool set. Multi-field binning tool accepts only the numeric fields, just like the imputation tool we have just seen. For the purpose of binning, we can bin the fields either in the form of the equal records or equal intervals. So what is a bin? If you just take a look at a histogram, let's just bring up a histogram here, right? So this is a histogram, and as you can see, it shows the salary and the number of the players. So 0 to 10 is actually an interval, 10 to 20 is an interval, right? So this is called a bin. Histogram is depicted using bins, and in order to create those bins, we are going to use the multi-field binning tool in Alteryx. So let's see how it works. Let's just get this over here, and it would get all the numeric fields. I'm going to do it on the basis of the sales, the number of the tiles or the bins that you want to create. So I want to create it 10 tiles or the 10 bills. Now we have two options, either equal records or equal intervals. Equal records, what it says that the input records are divided into the specified number of bins. Each bin is assigned the same number of records. Okay, so the number of records would be equal in each bin. Then we have equal intervals. That means the minimum and the maximum values of the selected fields are determined, and the records are assigned based upon these ranges. So if we go with equal intervals, that would be like more appropriate to get a varied length of the histogram. Then you can click on run. So after a few seconds you would be getting this field. It's on the basis of sales, right? Here is the field sales tile num. So what is the tile number? Right now it's 1, and as you can see, this one has higher sales value of 1706. That's why it's been assigned to tile 2. And just like this, if you just scroll over it, you will get some other numbers as well. So it's 1, 2, 1 and 2, and that was 5 over here. It has a higher range of 6000. That's why it's been given a number 5. So just like this, we have binned our sales records. If we just get it into equal number of records and click on run, so the records would be given two different bins equally. Like as you can see, the different bins have been assigned. The different bins have been assigned to each of these sales values. Okay. So as we have specified 10, so the 10 tiles have been created, and the maximum of 1000 tiles we can create. So any number between 1 to 999 is acceptable. So this is the function of the multi-field binning tool, and these are all the major tools that you need to know about in the preparation group in Alteryx. That's all for this video, and that's all for the preparation tools in Alteryx. In the next video, we would be looking at the other group, which is the join group. That's all for this video. Thanks for watching. Hello everyone, welcome to Alteryx tutorials. In this video, we are going to take a look at some of the tools that are present in the join tab of the Alteryx tools. In the previous videos, we have already seen the in-out tab and the preparation tab and their individual tools that are going to be useful for us while preparing the workflows in Alteryx. In this video, we are going to start a new tab, that is the join tab. So without any further ado, let us start with the video. In this video, we are going to talk about a very special tool known as the Append Fields tool. This Append Fields tool is present in the Join tab, as you can see, denoted by a purple color. Now, before starting with this tool, what I have already done is I have already input my data, that is the sample superstore data, and from that dataset I have taken the orders sheet. In case you don't know where to get this data from, you can simply Google sample superstore Excel and that dataset would be downloaded for you. The reason why we are choosing this dataset is because it is having a wide variety of data ranging from text to numbers to location, everything that one could ask for. Furthermore, the dataset is completely clean, there are no inconsistencies, so it would be easier for us to work on it. And once you have downloaded the dataset using the input tool, you can simply just input the data. Then I have used two data cleansing tools which are in the preparation tab to clean the data. Now, in case you are wondering what I have done over here, I recommend you to just go through the previous videos where I have explained this process in a step-by-step fashion. Now, once we have done with all this, let us just go back to our Append Fields tool and bring it up over here. As you can see, the Append Fields tool has two anchors on the input, that is T and S. T stands for target and S stands for source, and there is one output anchor. So let us understand first of all what is this tool all about. Append Fields tool is used to append the fields of one small input which is taken as a source, denoted by the S over here, to every record of another larger input, that is the target. The result is a Cartesian join. Now in a Cartesian join, every row from one table is joined to every row of the other table. Like if there are two tables, table 1 has like 100 rows and table 2 has 1000 rows. So the Cartesian join would be 100 into 1000, that is 100,000 rows in total. So this is what happens in the Cartesian join. And in case you want to perform a Cartesian join on your tables, then you can use this Append Fields option. Okay, the Append Field tool accepts two inputs, which is again a target and a source. The target is a larger data stream and the source is a smaller data stream that provides the records that are added to the target stream. Okay, now in order to configure the tool, here we can see the configuration panel over here. We can use this table to modify the incoming data stream. Here each row is representing an individual column in the table. As you can see, row ID, order date, ship mode, etc. Now here what are the options, what are the things that we can do is we can modify the type of the column. Like right now it's double, but if you want to change it to anything else, you can change it. Like I want int 16 over here, so that its size also decreases. If in the case of the strings you want to change the size, you can do that as well. If you want to rename a column, that also you can do. Like instead of the row ID, I want S number to be present over here, serial number. Okay, so SNO is what I want to rename it. In case you want to provide a description for your columns, that you can also provide. Now what would happen is, once the Cartesian join is performed, this is how the columns would be treated, like with the description, with the renamed value and with the modified type over here. Okay, now this is one thing that you can do. Now in case you want to select multiple fields like this, then there is this options button that is present. There are a bunch of options that you can use, like save or load. That means you can save the field configuration as a .yxft file, which is Alteryx field type file, that can be used in other workflows as well. Then we can use the select option to either select all of the columns or deselect them all. We can change the field type of the highlighted fields. This is only available if all the fields that you have highlighted are of the same type. So you can just change them to a common or a mutual type, right? Next we have is the sort option, which is of course used to sort the columns in ascending or the descending orders, like sort on the original field name, on a new field name, on the field type, or revert to the incoming field order. Next we have is the move option, that is used to move the highlighted columns to the top or the bottom of the list if you want to perform this option. If you want to add some prefix to the field names, if you want to add suffix to the field names, if you want to remove any prefix, remove any suffix, or if you want to clear all the renames that you have done so far, that you can do using this. If you want the highlighted fields only whose renames you want to clear, that also you can do. Revert all to original type and size, that means all of the changes that you have done would be unchanged, and so on. These are all the options that we have available. Next we have is this option, warn/error on too many records being generated. So in this append fields tool, it performs a Cartesian join, which means the number of the rows of both of these tables are actually multiplied with one another. That means a huge number of rows would be generated, right? So it is a possibility that unintentionally you can produce so many errors. So you can configure the warnings or errors to be reported so that not too many records are being produced. Now for this we have three options. Allow all appends, that means all records would be appended to all the records with no error or warning. Next is warn on appends of more than 16 records. Like if there are more than 16 records in the source file, a warning is reported and the workflow continues processing. Third option is error on appends of more than 16 records. So if there are more than 16 records in the source file, then the error is reported and the workflow stops it processing. So it is just to save the memory and provide a fail safe in case of the errors, right? So I'm going to go with allow all appends just for this case to show you how this tool is gonna work. Okay, so here I have actually run the append fields tool. Let me explain to you quickly that what I have done. The target we have already taken. In the case of source, what we have done is we have taken a few records, around 5,000 records for the source. Now where these records come from the target itself, we created 3 separate Excel sheets on the basis of segment. So if you just go to this particular data, here you will find that there is this field called segment. It has 3 possible values: consumer, home office and corporate. These are the 3 segments. Okay, so these 3 Excel sheets were created. In one Excel sheet all the consumer related records were there, in another there were all corporate related records, and so on. So just like that, I have taken one more Excel sheet which contains all the consumer records. Now this would act as my source, because source is usually smaller in size than the target. So a total of 5,191 records were in this, and a total of 9,994 records were in this. As you can see over here, the number of the records is shown. So what I have done is I have used these two things in the append tool and run this. After running it, I applied a browse tool. The browse tool is nothing but it helps us to see that what is going on inside the tool. If you just click over this append fields tool, then you will see that this is the targets field. It is same. The changes that we did here, that was renaming the serial number, row ID to serial number, is not being reflected over here. And in the source, we have the row ID again with all the records present over here. But as soon as we added the browse tool and click on run, then it is going to show me the updated records, like how many records were taken from where. So 5,191 records from the consumer, that means the source, and 9,994 records from the orders sheet, that is the actual data set. Now it's going to take a few seconds, and here you can see the percentage of the process that has been completed, and along with this you can see the memory that it is being occupied. Right now it's 4.9 GB. So let's just give it a few seconds and see what happens when it's fully run. So let us meet after it's completed fully, after it's fully executed. Now the whole process has run, and you can see due to the browse tool we are able to see that the first row, that was row ID initially, has been changed to serial number, and now we are getting the combination of the records, that is target, the number of rows of the target multiplied by the number of rows of the source. So this is the total number of records that we are getting, and this is the size, that is 7.9 GB. So this is how the append fields tool or the Cartesian join works in Alteryx. That's all for this video. Thanks for watching. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Alteryx tutorials. In this video we are going to talk about very important tools that are present in the join tab of the Alteryx tool. Now these tools are the find and the replace tool. As the name suggests, they help you to find for the values, and if you want to replace your found value with any other value, so for that also this tool is used. Okay, so here in the workflow, as you can already see, I have input the data, that is the sample superstore data, and I have applied 2 data cleansing operations. So this I have already explained in the previous videos. In case you have not seen the videos, I would recommend you to go and watch them to easily understand that what's going on here. Now once your data is clean, let us make use of the find and replace tool. It is present in the join tab. So here's the join tab and here is the find and replace tool. Let me just drag it over here. Now let us understand this tool. It is used to find a string in one column of a data set and look up and replace it with the specified value from another data set, right? So you can use it to append columns as well. Now if we take a look at the configuration tab, we have this find section and the replace section. There are 2 different sections, right? In the find section, we have these 3 radio buttons that can be chosen as per our wish. First is beginning of field, that searches for the instance of the field value at the beginning of the field. The entire field does not have to contain what is being searched for. Next, we have any part of the field, which means it would search for the instance of the field value in any part of the field. The entire field again does not have to be containing what is being searched for. Third is the entire field, that it would search for the instance of the field value contained within the entire field. The instance must be there in its entirety to be replaced with the new value. Then we have find within field option, which is used to select the field in the table with the data to be replaced. F is the input anchor by the data in the reference table, and R is the input anchor that is being specified by which data to be replaced. Okay, next we have is the find value, that is used to select the field from the reference table, that is the R, that contains the same values as the find within table in the original table. Okay, next we have the case insensitive find and match the whole word only. So what we will do is, if we take a look at this orders table, this we would be connecting to the replace. Okay, next we would be getting another in out, and let me just get the input data. Here what I have done is, let me just move it a little bit here. So what I have done is I have made some changes into the subcategory field and the category fields. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is just first of all get the file over here, and this is the file that I want. Yeah, so here let's just click on OK and connect it to the find values. Okay, so it is going to find the values and replace it. Okay, so let me just go back to this tool. If I just click on the output anchor of this first field, what we would be getting here is 100 records actually, and here you can see the subcategory chairs is having a different spelling, means there are some of the white spaces. But in the case of this, the output anchor of the data cleansed field, we'll find that in the subcategory the chairs are correct. Okay, so we need to find the value of chairs and replace it with this. That means the subcategory field would be employed. So let's just click on this entire field subcategory and replace it with a subcategory value. Okay, and that's the case insensitive find, or let's just keep all the settings as this only and click on run. Now you can see that we have find in this F targets, there are a number of records, and in the R target, that's the source, there are a number of records. If we click on the output anchor, so the total number of records is 5191. That means the field where we have replaced the values, right? And the values would have been replaced over here. Okay, so here we can just select the subcategory again and click on run. So this is how the find and the replace tool works. It is used to replace the values, right? So this was all about the find section. Let us now focus on the replace section. So we have replace found text with value. That means we have to choose the field from the reference table to update the original table, that means the find table. If you want to replace multiple items, then you can just check this button, or you can just uncheck it. Append fields to record. If you want to append a column from the find field to the replace field, then you can just do that as well. Okay, so these are the options that are available. Let me just append some records, category and the product name records, and click on run. Now if you just click on this output anchor, then you can see category 2 and product name 2 are also available over here. That means these have been appended in the final output. So that's how the find and the replace tool works. Now let us talk about the other tool that is available, which is known as the union tool. So the union tool is a special tool which is again present in the join tab. Now what is the function of this tool? It is used to combine two or more data sets on the column names or the position. So on the basis of the column names or the position, it is used to combine the data sets, right? And in the output, each column contains the row from each input. We can actually perform the union operation on the basis of the number of the columns or the position, the name of the columns or the position of the columns, right? So if we take a look at this, we have two columns, we have two data sets right now, that is the consumer segment dataset and the corporate segment dataset. So if we just take a look at these data sets, they all have the same values, that is the same columns, column names are same, and the position is also same, right? So we can just perform the union on both cases, that is on the basis of name and on the basis of positions as well, right? So what we are going to do is we are just going to take both of them, drag this union tool over here, and we are going to connect them. So this is 1 and this is 2. So we can just attach them, both of them. The one is the consumer and the second is the corporate. Now if we just check on this output tab, what we would be getting is a combination of the rows, that is 8211 records in total. Here you can see, right? Then we have this, for cross check, we have the segment column where first of all the consumer values are there, and then if you just scroll down, we would be having the corporate values. Okay, so this is what we are getting over here. Now if we just go to this union tool, here we have three options. Auto config by name, that means if the column names is similar, then you can use this option. Next is auto config by position, that means if the position is similar, then automatic configuration would be done on the basis of position. So we can do that as well, because in our case both of the things are same, so there would be no change, right? But the third option that we have right now is the manual configuration by the fields. So if you want to configure some fields to other values, that you can do, like here we have state and postal code. So if you want to just change them with this, interchange them like this, okay, and click on run. So now what would happen is, if you just go there in the state and the postal code, these values would be interchanged with one another, right? To understand it in a better way, we can just use the browse tool over here, so that we can get to see the individual records and run it, right? Now if we just go to this tool here, we can find the postal code, right? And as you can see, the longest value is North Carolina, the last alphanumeric value is Wisconsin. That means the values have been interchanged, okay? And similarly, in order to check for the segment, what we can do is just select the segment field over here. Here is the segment field, and there are two values, the consumer segment and the corporate segment. So that is how the union works. For the union to work, at least two of the data sets must be available, and they must have some of the common ground on the basis of which you can perform the union operation. Union operation is similar, that is, one table is appended over the other table. No changes are made into the individual records, only the appending operation takes place. So that's all for this union tool, And that's all for this video. In the next videos, we would be looking at some more tools of this join tab. That's all for this video. Thanks for watching. Hello everyone, welcome to Alteryx tutorials. In this video, we are going to take a look at the join tool in Alteryx. So the join tool is a part of the join tab group, and it is a very useful tool in Alteryx. We would be seeing all about this tool in this video. So first of all, let us understand that what is the basic functions of this tool. Join tool is used to combine the two inputs based on some common fields between the two tables. We can also join two data streams based upon the record position of those streams. So for the join tool, we have two inputs over here. As you can see, input data 1. We just click on it. It would open the Excel file. So it has a few fields here, and it is the segment field is the consumer segment. As you can see, all the segments are consumer over here in this field. Okay. And the second we have is the same table, but the number of records is different, and the segment here is the corporate segment over here, like this. So here are the two sheets, the consumer sheet and the corporate sheet, which are actually apart and taken as two different inputs to be joined together, right? That means we have two inputs with common fields between them, which we need to join. Now let us drag this join tool over here. As you can see, this is a join tool, and in order to perform the join, we can actually use two options which are available in this configuration tab, that is join by record position or join by specific fields. Now if we talk about join by record position, this option is used when two tables have the same field structure and the data will be joined by its position within the two tables. Next we have is join by specific fields. It is used when the two tables have one or more fields in common and the data will be joined together on the basis of the common field only. And we can choose to join based upon the multiple fields, and each join should be a separate row in the grid. Like this is the grid. So each join, each criteria that you're giving for the join should be for a separate row in this table. But I'm just going to go with the join with record position, join by record position. First of all, let me just drag this one to L and the other to R. So L means left and R means right. These are the two anchors that we are getting. Now each input L and R, or left and right, has a drop down list from where we can just actually select the fields or the join field for each of the inputs. Alteryx Designer will automatically select the field for us, as in this case you can see it has selected the row ID field for us to be taken as the drop down as the joining field. Okay. Now we can just use this table to modify the data. That means its type we can modify, like right now it's double. We can just select it to int16 to reduce its size a little bit. We can rename it. So let's just rename it to a serial number, just to show you that how the changes are gonna work. And like this we can just modify it, like the data type, the size, we can rename it or add a description. So let's just add a description, that is serial number, like this. Okay, so these are the changes that I have done. Right, and then there is this unknown column, which is basically used in case we want to add more columns. Now in case of the view output, there are these three options, that is the L anchor that contains the records from the L input that didn't join to the records from the R input, the J anchor that contains the records that join from the L and the R input, and then we have the R anchor that contains the records from the R input that didn't join into the records from the L input. So this is the order, and these are the three anchors that have been shown over here. If we just click on run, so the joining would occur. Let's just click on the L anchor to get the records from the L input that didn't join to the records from the R input. So a total of 2171 records are there. We click on J, so 3020 records are J. In this J anchor, that means the records that have been joined from the L input to the R input over here. As you can see, there are 3020 records, and in this R anchor we have no records. That means there are no records in the R input that didn't join to the records of the L input. So this is how the join tool works. And there are these different types of joins that can happen in this using the join tool. First is the inner join that we have done right now, specified by this J anchor. This is the inner join that contains the records that join from the L input to the records in the R input. This L anchor refers to the left unjoined that contains only of the records that didn't join to those of the R, and this R contains of the R unjoined records. Next we have is a possibility of a left outer join that all the records from the L input including the records that join with the R input, right? Now this can be achieved with the help of two tools, the join tool and the union tool. So what we can do is actually get a union tool here, and if we just combine them together, that means connect the J and L outputs of the join tool to the union tool. So the L is connected, let's just connect the J as well. Now if we just click on this output button and just run it, then what we would be getting is a total of 5191 records, which is the result of the left outer join. Similarly, if you want to get a result of the right outer join, now what is right outer join? That means all the records from the R input including the records that are joined with the L input. So again, let's just get a union. Let's just drag the J and the R anchors over here and run the workflow. So here it is. Let's just click on the output, and this is around 3020 records that are a part of the right outer join. Last but not the least, we have the full outer join. So that means all the records that are a part of the L and the R inputs are the full outer join. Full outer join is actually similar to the append fields join, which means it actually performs the Cartesian join. A combination of all the records of both the tables would be shown over here, and the total number of rows would be the product of the individual rows in the tables. So either we can directly use the append fields, or if you don't want to use the append fields, then you can actually use a third option. So what I'm going to do is just copy these three tools, right click, copy, and create a new workflow out of them so as to avoid the confusion. And here I'm going to perform the full outer join. So let's just get the union tool over here. We need to connect all these three, that is L, J and R over here. So first of all, we need to connect the J output or the J anchor. Why we are doing it? Every time you are using the union tool after the join tool, make sure you first connect the J to establish the combined table schema, that what is going to be the final table schema, right? Then you can connect L, and then you can connect R, and then run this workflow. So after a few seconds, here is the output. Total of 5191 records would be displayed over here with all the values, right? And if you want to cross check your results, what you can do is actually use the append fields option. So for this, we are just going to copy these two tools. You can select multiple by control clicking them, right click, copy, go to the new workflow and paste them, either using the shortcut Control V or simply just right click and paste, right? Let me move it here, get the append fields tool over here, get it here and get it here, run it. So allow all appends and click on run. It's going to take a few seconds. Of course, append fields is a little bit slower option than the union and the join tool combined. So let's just wait for a few seconds, and while we are waiting, you can see actually the progress with which it is working on. Okay, right. So now if we just click on this output anchor, then we would be seeing a total of all the records that are present over here. So that is how the joins work, the Cartesian join or the full outer join, the left outer join, the right outer join, and basically all the types of the joins with the help of the join tool, union tool and the append fields tool. That is all that we would be looking at in this join tab, and that's all for this video. Thanks for watching. Hello everyone, welcome to Alteryx videos. In this video we are going to talk about a tool that is known as the regex tool in Alteryx. So regex is basically stands for regular expressions, and that helps us to find for particular values in the table. Okay, so here is a few small setup that I have done for the regex tool. This is how a regex tool looks, and it is a part of the parse tab in the Alteryx. So here is the regex tool that's present. It is used to leverage the regular expression syntax to parse, match or replace the data. So for the regex tool, first of all, the data must be present. So I have taken a data that is the consumer segment data from the output Excel sheets that we have already prepared in the previous videos. In case you have not watched the videos, I would recommend you to watch them to better understand what we are doing over here. So once I have taken the data from the input data tool, then let me just delete it once. The next thing is to go to this parse tab and grab this regex tool over here. Okay, now what we are going to do is connect these anchors like this, and in the regex tools configuration we have the first option, that is the configure the column to parse. So here you can just select the column which we want to parse. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go with the customer name column that I want to parse. Next is in format to convert option, we have to add the regular expression. So here is the Perl 5 regex syntax that has been followed by these regular expressions. In case you do not know about the regular expressions and want to read about it, then how can you go with it? You can simply just go to Google, and here you can just search for regex Alteryx, regex tool Alteryx, or basically regex Alteryx. So if you just search for it, you would get the first link, that is help.alteryx.com. that would give you the official Alteryx documentation for this tool, and in this official documentation you will find this link, that is Perl regular expression syntax. You can just click on this link, and here is all the information that you need to know about the regular expressions before working on them. Like everything that every syntax of regex that is being used is shown over here. Okay, so you can take your time and read it, understand it well, and then come back to this video. So let me just quickly show you that how these regular expressions are going to work. Here what we have is the plus sign, which is the button that is used to access the common regular expressions that we may need while creating the expression. So if you just click on this plus icon, we would be seeing these operations. Like if you want to match for a single character, you want to match for 0 or more characters, or 1 or more characters, you want to match for the start of the word, end of the word, beginning of the line, end of the line, and so on. These are all the regular expression syntax that have been given to you. Next is the case insensitive option. Just a second. Here is this case insensitive option, which is checked by default. That means the searches that would be happening through regular expression would not distinguish between the uppercase and the lowercase letters, right? Next we have is the output, where we have the output method, which is used when parsing to configure the related properties, like what you want to do once the expressions have been matched. So we have 4 methods that are available. The first one is replace. So it means that we want to replace the expression that we have searched with a second expression. Now where you want to find the second expression, that is in the replacement text. You can enter the replacement text that we want to the original expression to be replaced with. Again we have this plus that would allow you to actually find the entire text or just the particular character to be replaced. Okay, the common regular expressions again that are needed. Then we have the copy unmatched text to output. If you want to copy it to the output as well, that also you can do, otherwise you can just remove it. Next option that we have in this output is the tokenize method, that is used to split the incoming data using a regular expression. It works in similar to the next tool that we have is the text to columns tool. So we would be working more with the text to columns tool, so I'm not going to explain everything over here. And it has some options, like if you just select it, tokenize method,
Then you can see we have different options like split to columns option, like you want to split a single column of data at each instance to the specified delimiter into the multiple columns. And what would be the extra behavior or the behavior of the extra columns, like you want to drop them with a warning, you want to drop them without warning, or you want to show an error before dropping the columns. Then there is this output root name, which is actually the original name of the column that we are going to use. And if you want to split a single column of data at each instance of the specified delimiter into multiple rows, then this option needs to be checked. Third method we have is the parse method. It is used to separate the expression into new columns and set the name, type, size and expression for the new columns. A new column is created in the output columns table with its name, its particular data type, its size and the expression, which is automatically populated. So you can just specify name, type and size. Last but not the least, we have is the match option, that is used to append a column containing a number, that is 1 if the expression is matched and 0 if it did not matched. Now column name for match status, that means a new column would be created. So what would be the name of the column, that you can specify over here. By default it is taken as order id underscore matched, right? And there is this option of error if not matched. So if the expression is not matched and you want to generate some kind of an error, that it would generate by checking on this option or by unchecking it. Okay, so let's just see the practical application of this regular expression. But before that, let me just get a look of how the data is looking. So here it is, we are using the customer name. In the customer name field, we have different customer names starting with different letters, right? So let's just go to the regular expression field, and I wanted to start with any single character should be Z. Okay, and I just want a match column to be there, that there should be a column that should be name underscore matched, that if it is matched it should show me 1, otherwise it should show me a 0, and click on run. Now wait for a few seconds till it's been run. Here now we can see that we are getting this name matched option where the results are false. There should be some true results. In order to get that, what we are going to do is grab the browse tool over here, and in this browse tool, let's just run it once again, run the workflow. Now in the browse tool, we are going to go with the last record, that is the name matched record. So all are false, that means there were no records that had Z in them, right? So let me just append my query, just modify my query a little bit, and here get A instead of Z, run it. So here what we have done is added A, and in this case check the option of error if not matched. So if there is no matching in the first record itself, then the error would be there. So let me just run it. So this is what we are getting as the error, because the first letter was not A, that is why it didn't match the expression and the error was there, and it has finished its running in just 1.4 seconds. Okay, so this is how the regular expressions work. Now let us move on to the next tool that we have, and that is the text to columns tool. So let me just create a new workflow, and in this workflow what I'm gonna do is just copy paste this input data. Okay, so let's just copy it and paste it and grab this text to columns tool over here. So it would give me the freedom to just split the columns. Like we have the order id column in which hyphen can act as a delimiter. So I want to split this column. So let's just go to this tool, select order id column, the delimiter specified needs to be hyphen. The number of columns that needs to be created is 3, and leave, if there are any extra columns then leave it in the last column, and the output root name is going to be order id, right? Let's just click on run, and now what we can see is a total of 24 fields. So here what we are getting, order id 1, order ID 2 and order ID 3. Since there were only 3 things, so 3 have been shown over here. In case there were multiple hyphens, like let me just decrease the number of columns to 2 and click on run, then what would happen is we would be getting order ID 1, and in the last column the combination of both of them, like order ID 2 and 3 with a hyphen, is present over here. If you want to rename the column, you can just rename it simply using the tools that we have seen in the past. So any kind of a renaming that you want to perform, that you can do. So that's all for this video, in which we looked about the regex tool and the text to columns tool in the parse tab of the Alteryx. That's all for this video. Thanks for watching. Hello everyone, welcome to Alteryx tutorials. In this video we are going to talk about a very important tool in Alteryx known as the count records tool. So count record tool is present in the transform tab in the Alteryx. It is used to return the count of the number of the records that are passing through the tool. Now we can use this tool when we want to report on the resulting record or the record count that is being used in the workflow. It even returns a count of a 0 as well. So in case you are wondering that how would you get the total number of records, then you can do that with the help of the count records tool. Now you can get that on the entire database, or you can apply some filters and get the records that match that particular filter as well. So I'm going to show you the example for both. Let me first get the input data tool and get my data that is stored in this output Excel file, the consumer sheet. Now if I just run it right now, I would be getting all the records that are present in there. That is a total of 5191 records. Okay. Now the thing is, I'm going to go to this output and apply a filter over here, right? So let's just use this filter tool here, and the filter is going to be a basic filter. That is, I want to select the segment where the segment value is, let's just get a value for the segment, or let's just get a value for say category that is equal to technology. So let me just apply the filter that is for the category. If it is equals to technology, okay, then run this, and we would be getting, in the true part we are getting 951 records, and in the false part we are getting 4000 some records. Okay, so if you just go to the true part and then go to the transform tab, get this count records filter or this count records tool and apply it over here, then we just go to its output part, okay, or basically we just run this tool. Then what we are getting is 951 as the total, because it is only added to the true part. If I also connect this false part to here, then you can see it's not able to connect, because this count records tool only accept one input, right? So to get the number of the false records, we add another count records tool and click on run. So now for this second count records tool, if you just click on its output part, we are getting 4240. That's the number of the records for the false, and this is the number of the records. 951 is the number of records for the true part. In case we decide to remove this filter, right, let me just remove this filter over here and also delete one of the count records tool. Then what can I do is directly connect my database to this count records tool. Now if I just run it, then what do we get is 5191. That is the total number of records in the actual database. So that's how the count records tool works, either through filter or without the filter. Okay. Next tool that we are going to see is the cross tab tool. So let me just save this workflow and move on to our second tool, that is the cross tab tool. Now what is the usage of this tool? It is used to pivot the orientation of the data in a table. What it does is it moves the vertical data fields onto a horizontal axis and summarizes the data whenever it is specified. It is in reverse application of the transpose tool, which of course we would be seeing as well. So there is no limit on the number of the rows or the columns that can be passed through this cross tab tool. Okay, so for this cross tab tool, what I have done is I have taken another database, or I have created another database. Let me just use that because it is fairly small, so it would be easier to understand for us. So this database is present in the form of a named range in Excel. It has two columns, the number of hours and the score. So the name of the range is the scores. So let me just get that. Click on OK. This is how it is looking. It has around 10 records. Okay. It gives us the number of the hours the student has studied and the score that he has scored. Okay. Let's just go to the transform tab and get our cross tab tool over here. Now once we get there, it would ask us that if we want to group the data by any of these values. So it is all the available data values that are present in the data set. If you want it to be grouped with a specific value, you can just select that. Next is if you want to create a value or change the column headers, so a new column would be created for each of the unique values in this particular header, so the number of hours. Then we have values for new columns, so these values would be used to propagate the new columns that are created by the number of hours. Now if you want to aggregate it, then you can just aggregate it using these all options. So what all options we have? Sum, average, count, percent row, percent column, total, first and last. So what we are going to do is just go with the total row and a total column and click on run. Now here we just select on the output tab here. This is the output that we are getting, that is the total of the rows and the columns is 733. If we just now instead of getting this total row and the total column, I'm changing the method of aggregating values to sum and just deselect them both and click on run. Now what would we getting is the record and the sum of the scores over here. So this is how it is looking. So this is basically the usage of the cross tab tool in Alteryx. Now let us take a look at the tool that is very similar to the cross tab tool, and it is known as the transpose tool. So let me just save it. And what is the transpose tool? It is actually somewhat different from the cross tab tool. It is used to pivot the orientation of the data table. It is basically used to transform the data. So what we can do is the horizontal data fields would be shown on the vertical axis. It is the reverse application of the cross tab tool, and it is useful for extracting the non-conforming data. There is no limit again on the number of records or the fields that could be transformed. So here is the input data part that is same with the cross tab tool that we just saw, that is the number of hours and the score. Now let's go to this transform tab and get this transpose tool. So when we get this transpose tool, these are the configuration panel options that we are getting. First is the key columns. So from here we can select the columns to pivot the table around. This name remains on the horizontal axis with its value replicated vertically for each data field that is selected. So let me just select them all. Next is the data columns. Now that means that we can select the columns to carry through the analysis. So let's just keep number of hours over here and the score over here. Here we have an option of a dynamic or unknown columns. So if you want to go for a dynamic or unknown columns as well, you can just keep it checked. Okay. You can just go to this question mark to read about it. That is, running a workflow can introduce the new columns that were unknown at the configuration time. So if you want to include those new columns, you can make sure that this option is checked. That's for a further step towards security. Last but not the least, we have the missing columns option. That means what action we want to take if some of the columns are missing. We want to report an error and stop processing the result. We just want to throw a warning and continue on with the results, or we just want to completely ignore it, right? So let's just keep it on warn and click on run. Now what happens is if we just click on the output panel, this is how it's looking. The number of hours is same. The name has been changed to score and its value is being shown like this. So basically score has been transposed into a horizontal row instead of a vertical column. So this is what the function of the transpose tool is, and this is what it has done. Now if you want, you can compare it with the cross tab tool. The cross tab tool, what it did was it transformed the horizontal rows into the vertical columns. Now we have these columns for all of these values, right? But what the transpose tool did was just opposite of the cross tab tool. It took the name of the column or the header of the column, that was a score, and created multiple rows out of it. The value for each of that was written over here, like the value like this. Okay. Now in this transpose tool, if we just select all the key columns and click on run once again, then what would happen? Then we would be getting like this, no values, because we have transposed both of these columns. So none of the values are remaining with us. Okay. And let me just show you another possibility, that is, if I just decide to transform the number of hours instead of the scores value. So this is how it would be looking. The number of hours would be taking up the horizontal rows and its values would be assigned like this with a value field. So name and value, it would be taken in the form of a pair. So that's all for this video, in which we learned about 3 tools of the transform tab, and thanks for watching the video. Hello everyone, welcome to Alteryx tutorials. In this video we are going to talk about 2 very important tools of the transform tab. These are the running total tool and the summarize tool. So first of all, let's start with the running total tool. This tool is present in the transform tab in Alteryx, and it is used to calculate a cumulative sum on a numeric field per record in a file. It can also be used to create sums of groups of records and calculate the cumulative sums of multiple fields at the record or even at the group level. So let us understand the usage of this running total tool with the help of an example, right? So let me just first get my data using this input data tool, which is present in the in-out tab. Now let's just click on this drop down and get our Excel sheet, which is the consumer sheet. Click on OK. Now let's just grab this running total tool and bring it over here. Here we have 2 options that are present in this running total tool. In the configuration panel, that is the group by field, which is again optional. And the second option is the create running total field. So it helps us to create the numeric fields to create a running total, basically to select the fields through which we want to create a running total. In your database, there might be different kinds of fields like the textual fields, the date fields, or spatial object fields, but the running total tool will automatically fetch out the numerical fields and would give you only those fields on which it is applicable, right? So these are all the numeric fields that are present in my data set. That's why it's showing the list of all of them, right? Now, what you want is, you can just select the fields of whose running total you want. The new columns would be created and they would be added with a run total underscore prefix to show that this was the original record and this is the total that has been calculated by this particular tool. So let's just see how it is going to work. I want the total of sales, quantity, discount and profit. These are the 4 values whose total I want. Next, what I can do is I can click on run and wait for a few seconds till it has finished running. This is how it's looking. If I just click on this output tab over here or using this anchor, then I would be getting these 4 columns: running total underscore sales, quantity, discount and profit. This means that this is the total values that have been calculated by this particular tool. If you go to the very last record, you would be of course getting the highest value or the total value of the sales, quantity, discount and profit. If you take a look on the profit values, then there is a point where these values are in negatives, which means I'm not getting a total profit, I am getting some of the loss from my sales. But slowly, if you see, the values have again converted them into the positives. That means the total value is a profit or a loss. That would be I getting for the last record. So this is how the running total tool works. It is actually used to give you a summary of the numeric fields that I've been working on. Next we have is the summarize tool. Now this is a really important tool in Alteryx and we are going to use it often whenever we are developing the workflows. So let us understand its working. First of all, it is used to perform the various actions which could be the functions or the calculations on the data. It can return the sum of the column for the data, which is basically calculated by adding all the rows in the column. It can return the minimum or the maximum value in the column. It can count the number of rows. It can group the column of a data by identical values. It can concatenate the string values. It can perform a variety of mathematical calculations and even perform spatial object processing. Now, these are a variety of steps that are really important whenever we are working with a workflow, right? So let's just see some of the actions one by one to understand it. Let me just grab my summarize tool and connect my database. The database here I'm using is the Excel sheet for the consumer segment. Okay. Now here we have two things, the fields and the actions. The fields is basically the data fields that has been taken from the input data set along with its data type. Okay. Now what we can do is we can just select some of the fields, and if you want to select multiple fields, you can just shift and click on them like this. Okay. Or what you can do is control click them to select multiple fields. Then we have is a select option, which has different options like all, which means it would select all the fields. None, it would deselect all the fields. Numeric, it would select only the fields with the numeric data type. String would select only the string fields, and spatial would select only the fields with the spatial data types, right? So these are the kinds of the options that we could perform. Let me just select the numeric fields, so you can see the row ID, sales, quantity, discount and profit have been selected. Next, what we need to do is once you have selected the fields, we come to this add option. So this add option is actually used to just search for the action that we need to perform. You just click on it. Here are the different options that could be performed. We can find the minimum value, the maximum value, the sum, count, count non-null, count distinct, non-null, count null, group by, first, last, and these are the number of the functions that could be applied, like numeric functions, string functions, spatial functions, behavioral analysis, and the report functions. Okay. So if we just go to the numeric functions, here is the number of the functions that could be applied, like average, percentile, median, and mode. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select none, and I'm going to show you the different functions that could be applied for each of the data types, that is double, string, and we don't have spatial data, so let me just go with numeric and the string values only. Okay, so first of all, let's just select these four. I'm ignoring the row ID because that's no need for that. Next, what we can do is just go to these numeric fields and here select the percentile. Now, in the action field, we have the fields, the actions that could be performed, and what would be the name of the output field. If you want to change the name of the output field, that you can do. If you want to change the action, that also you can do. For example, in the case of sales, I want the max value. In the case of quantity, I want the percentile. In the case of discount, I want percentile. In the quantity, again I want the minimum value, and in the case of profit I want the sum. Okay, so these are the four different actions that I want to perform on the different fields, and once you have selected all of these things, you can just simply click on run and wait for a few seconds. Let's just go to the output. So it is giving me the maximum value of the sales, the minimum quantity that was purchased was 1, the percentile discount is 0.2%, and the total sum of the profit that I have taken is this much of the profit. Okay. Now the names of the columns have been named accordingly, which means you can understand that what is going on in these, right? So this is for the numeric values. Let me just copy this, create a new workflow to show some of the functions for the string values as well. Okay, here I can just paste them, and for this tool I'm just going to make the changes by selecting the string values. And what are the things that I could add is count null, count not null. So let me just go with a count. If you want to delete any of these actions, you can just simply select that action and click on minus. Select that action, click on minus. Okay. So this is what I'm going to go with, that is the count. In the case of category, I want count distinct. In the case of category subcategory also, I want to count distinct. In the case of segment, I want count non-null. In the case of country, I want count null, and so on. Okay, I have created a bunch of different actions. In the case of customer ID, I want the longest. Okay, now once I have selected all these operations, I can click on run. So it's going to take a few seconds, and let us just go to this output to select the to just see the values. So first of all is count, that would give me the count of order ID. Next is count 2, that is giving me the count of the ship mode, which is actually the total number of the records. Next is the longest customer ID, then the customer name, customer segment, then count of the null in the country is 0, that means there are no null values, right? Similarly, for the count distinct category, there are 3 distinct categories, that's why it's giving me the result as 3. Similarly, in the case of subcategory, it is counting it as 17, that are 17 distinct subcategories are present. And finally, we have the count of the product name. So there are 5,191 products that are available. That means everyone has purchased some products. So this is how the summarize tool works in the transform tab. That's all for this video. That's all for the tools for the transform tab, and thanks for watching. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Alteryx tutorials. In this video we are going to talk about a new tab, that is the reporting tab in Alteryx. So this tab might not be by default present in your Alteryx Designer view. So what we are going to do is actually see that how can we add the few tabs that are supported by Alteryx. Okay, so what we are going to do, first of all, it's just go to this option, this plus icon, which would automatically give you an option to add or remove the tools. So let's just click on that. This would open up the configure tool palette. That means all the tools that are actually supported by Alteryx but are not being shown on your screen right now. So here, if you just go and check, there are many of the tools that are actually supported by Alteryx. Okay, so from here, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to support this check on this reporting tab. So this would give me a bunch of other tools that I'm going to use, like email, image, insight, interactive chart, layout, map legend, overlay, render, report, and table. Okay, so let's just click on OK. Once we do that, this is the reporting tab that would be present in front of us, and these are the tools supported by the reporting tab. In this video, we are going to take a look at the table tool and the interactive chart tool, which are of very important in this whole workflow building thing. Okay, so first of all, let's just bring up the table tool. Now I have already used the input data tool to get my data set. Let us just understand the usage of the table tool. As the name suggests, table tool is used to create a data table or a pivot table to output the report through the render tool. Okay, so as you can see, this is the render tool. If you want to output the report, the render tool is what we are going to use. So if we just talk about this tool, we first have the table mode, which means you can select the basic table or the pivot table. Pivot table is basically used when we are using the data from the cross tab tool. In case you have not seen the video of the cross tab tool, I would recommend you to first go and watch it, and then you would be able to understand it easier. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, so I'm just going to go with the basic table. Next option we have is the group by option. That means the fields through which you want to group by these values, if there is anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to group by category and subcategory. Okay, next we have is the value of a table width, which is basically how you want to adjust your table. So automatic, that means the minimum width. Percentage, you want a particular percentage. Fixed, you want a particular fixed value. Okay, so I'm just gonna go with automatic. Right, next we have is the column headings, if you want to show the column headings or not. Then we have the option of a bar graph. So if you want to create a bar graph, just a second, let me just adjust it a little bit. Yeah, so if you want to create a bar graph, that means you can specify the data field for which the bar graph needs to be created in the table. And this bar graph option is only available for the basic table. In case you have selected the pivot table over here, then this option would not be available. Now you can just click on the settings to modify the style of the graph, like its width, its scale, its space value, label bars, colors, etc. But I'm not just gonna go into very much deep into this bar graph option right now. Right now we are just going to focus on the table tool. Okay. Next is show column headings, which is of course, let me just uncheck this bar graph. So that would be available to us if you want to show the column headings. Then we have the per column or the methodology configuration option. If the table mode is basic, then we can configure the columns, and if the table mode is the pivot mode, then we need to configure the methodologies. So in case we have selected basic mode, so we are getting the option as per column configuration. Now we can use it to select the data fields that we want to include in the table. Using these up and down arrows that are present over here, we can just set their order. We can just rename these fields as well. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna uncheck some of these fields. Okay, and I'm just going to go with only few fields over here. Okay, category, subcategory, product name, like this. Okay, I am just interested in these fields only. Okay. Now if you want to configure the attributes of a particular field, you can just select that particular field and these attributes would be available for you. If you want to get a new name for the field, so instead of the consumer name, I'm just going to go with the name. If you want to select its width, its alignment, its borders, prefix, suffix, anything you want to select, you can just select. This DEC places is for the number of the decimal places. So if you just select some numerical value, let's say the sales value, so this field would be enabled. Okay, and like in the prefix, I want a dollar symbol to show me that this was the dollar amount, and in the end I want I don't want any suffix, just for the prefix I want the dollar. Okay, for the sales, and that's it. If you want to create some of the column rules, you can just create the column rules, which basically says that what you want to do if you want to apply some kind of a formattings for it. So the sales rule 1 is you apply to the data when the sales is greater than equal to $1,000. You can just say the background color must be kind of like green. So if the sales value is greater than $1,000, I want a green background color. Okay, so this is the rule that I have applied. Okay, now next two options we have is the default table settings. That means the style options that we want our table to contain would be changed over here, or if you want to create a rule for to be applied to all the columns of the data, that you can apply using this create row rule option. So these are the options that you can control or configure in this table tool. Now once you are happy with the changes that you have made, you can click on run, and yes, so here is how the output is looking. We have categorized them, or we have grouped them on the basis of category and subcategory. And this is the table. This is the table that we have got over here. Just a second. Okay. Now, if you want to get to show this table, how would you be able to show it? So for that, what we need to do is to view the individual records and see whether the changes that you have made in the table are being actually made or not. We can simply use a browse tool that is present in the in-out tab. Okay, so once we have used the browse tool and run the workflow, this is the kind of the output that we would be getting. As you can see, the number of the fields have been reduced drastically. We are now only getting the fields which we actually modified, right? And if you just want to scroll up and down to get a better view, that also you can get. Here you can see in the sales, the prefix is added, that is a dollar symbol. and whenever the sales quantity is more than $1,000, we are getting the color, the background color, as green. This was the rule that we created for this values, right? So you can see all these values are colored in green now. So this is how the whole field, the whole table tool is looking. Now let us talk about how can you actually render this table. Okay, now here what we have done is created a copy of these two things, the basic table and the data. In order to render it, we go to the reporting tab and grab the render tool. The render tool is actually used to render or transform the report snippets into the presentation quality reports into a variety of formats. Now the formats supported by it are these: HTML, compressor, PDF, RTF, Word, Excel, PNG image, or a specific output file. So from this you need to select the specific output file option. In the output file you can just click on this save file and select the format in which you want to save the file. I am going with the Excel, and here you need to type a name. So let me just grab the name, that is report table, over here and click on save. Now once you do that, the path would be taken. You can just select these different options, like if you want a header, you want a footer for the table or not, that you can just select. Okay, the page of this paper size, the orientation for the report as well. Then click on run. Once you do that, the rendering needs to be completed. So let's see when it's completed. You can just go to this location where you have saved the file, and you would see that the changes have been made. So here is the report table that we just created, the Excel sheet, and this is how it is looking. It has been rendered as it is we required, like all the changes, all the rules have been applied. So that's all for the render tool, and that's all for this video as well. Thanks for watching. Hello everyone, welcome to Alteryx tutorials. In this video we are going to talk about the creation of a visual data representation in Alteryx. So it is possible through different tools, but we would be looking at the table tool and the interactive chart tool, which are primarily used for this purpose. So if we talk about the table tool, we have studied all about it in the previous video. In case you haven't watched it already, I would recommend you to just go there and watch it first to understand its basics, because in this video I'm not just going to explain the basics again. I'm simply just going to show you the application of the table tool, especially the bar chart part. So let's just go to the table tool. This is the basic table tool that we have been using. Now here if you see, there is this option of bar graph. So what I have done over here is, in this bar graph option I have selected sales, and the settings, all the settings I have kept as same, okay, or basically the default settings. Then what I have done is I have used the render tool, and in the render tool I have outputted it in the form of a PDF file. So once I run this workflow, what would happen is I would be getting this kind of a report. Now all the settings for the table tool are same as we did for the previous file, but the format of the file has changed from Excel to PDF right now. Now you can see all these things have been shown like this only, but whatever the sales amount is, like 732 is the sales amount, so a slight bar of light blue color is shown along with its value, 71 for 90. So this is how the bar chart tool works. We have selected it for the sales value. So for the sales value, this is how it's being shown. Like it shows us the bar that would roughly give us an estimate of the quantity that is being or the total sales amount that it is contributing with respect to the total amount. So this is how we can use the bar chart or the visual representation within a table using the table tool. Now let us move on to the tool that is specifically designed for this purpose, and that is the interactive chart tool. So first of all, let me just save this workflow and close it because we don't need it anymore. We are going to take a look at the interactive chart tool now. Now what is this interactive chart tool? It is used to basically visualize the data in the workflow. We can create charts, interactive multi-layered bar charts, line graphs, scatter plots, pie charts, and more. We can use the data set that we've been using to calculate the sum, count, average, minimum, maximum of the selected fields and output them into the different file types, again using the render tool. So first of all, let's just get the input file. This is our input tool. Let me just get the file. I'm starting with a simple file, so let's just go with the scores file right now. And now what I'm going to do is apply the interactive chart tool over here. Okay, so we can just configure the chart by clicking on this configure chart option, and it's going to open up this kind of a dialog box, the interactive chart dialog box, which would help us to configure the chart. Okay, so we can just create the chart over here. In this, as you can see, there is a format of a chart that's been given to us, so we can just create the chart like this, control the zoom, control the location and everything. Okay, so for this data, first you have to ensure that what kind of a chart you want to create. I want to create a bar chart. Okay, so once you are in this interactive chart workflow, you can just go to create, click on layer, and here you need to just select on add layer option. You can give a name to the layer. By default it's taken as layer 0, but you can give it any name. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna add bar chart. Okay, then we have the type option. In this you need to just select the type of the chart to the bar. Then we have the X, which means you need to select the column which you want on the X axis. So I want the score on the X axis. On the Y axis I want the number of hours. Okay, so that's number of hours and scores to be taken over here. Okay, then what we can do is we can just go to the template if you want a particular template to be used. Otherwise we can just go with it. And so once you have made all the changes as per your choice, you can just close that dialog box and bring in the browse tool. This would help you to take a look at the chart that you have created. So this is the bar chart that we have created based upon the data. As you can see, here is 98, that is the score, and 9 is the number of the hours the student has studied. So this is how we have got the chart for us. But if you want to just zoom in, you can just zoom in and out of it to get a better look at how the things are looking inside the chart. Right, so this is how basically the chart is created. And if you want to create it for different things, what we can do is first of all get rid of this data set and bring in our sales data, because it has more scope of creating charts, it has more values, right? So let's just go to this output Excel file and get in our consumer data set. Right, again we go to this chart option, configure chart. Now there are all types of configurations that you can apply. Right now you can see the score and the number of hours is missing, so what we can do is just get rid of it, add a new layer. Again it's going to be a bar chart. Right now the type is again going to be bar. In the column I'm just going to get the, in the X axis I'm just going to get the sales amount, and in the Y I'm just going to get the category. Okay, so the category wise sales is what I want. Next what I can do is just basically close it, go to the browse tool and run it to get the overview. It's going to take a few seconds depending upon the processing speed of your computer, and then it would render an output for you. So once we have made the changes, then this is how the output would be looking. This is the sales on the basis of the category, that is furniture, office supplies and the technology category, and these are the individual sales records that we are getting right now. Okay, now using this chart tool we can actually configure the chart the way we like. Okay, so there are multiple configuration options that are available. Like if you just go to this layer option, there are these different types of options that you can perform. Like the opacity you can select, the border width you can select, the border color you can just select, and everything like this. Okay, so this is how it's gonna look. We can just select the different bar modes like stack or overlay or relative to one another. Next we have is the option for the legend. So if you want to work with the legends, like if you want to show the legends or not, then you can just select them. Also you can just hide them altogether if you don't want to be shown. In the layers panel, here you can just select the orientation of the chart as well, like this. Okay, so this is what we can do. Then we have this axis part where we can just select the display range, like what is the maximum and the minimum range that you want, the axis line you want to show or hide, the grid lines you want to show or hide, etc. All these things you can just select. Okay. Then we have the batch, if you want to create batched charts or not. So this is how we work with these charts. This is a simple bar chart that we have created. Now let us just move on to another type of a chart that we're going to create, which is a pie chart. Let's just see how do we create that real quick. So what I'm gonna do is just create a new workflow, and in this I'm just gonna copy these two tools. Actually the three tools can be copied. All of these three tools can be copied and pasted over here. Now for the pie chart, what we are going to do is actually create it on the basis of the sales and the category. That means there are three categories, and I'm just going to get the bifurcated amount of sales for each of these categories. So let's see how do we do that. So in the configure chart option, we go to the layer and just select the type to pie. The values I have taken to sales, and the labels I have set to category. This is how it is looking, and the name, of course, I have renamed it to pie chart for more clarity on what is going on. Now this is how it is looking. It is giving me the percentage of the sales. In case you want to give it a chart title, you can just click here and provide it with a title, or if you want to save it as a PNG file, you can just click on this floppy disk icon and you would be able to save it. So I'm just going to save it as a chart, and let's just see how it is looking. So this is my chart.png. This is how it's looking. This is a legend that tells you that blue represents technology, orange represents furniture, and green represents office supplies. So that's how the charts are created in Alteryx. That's all for this video. Thanks for watching. Hello everyone, welcome to Alteryx tutorials. In this video, we are going to take a look at the chart creation process only. But in this video, we are going to take a look at how can we create batch charts and what is basically the concept of batch charts in Alteryx. So the batch charts are basically used to group the data, as we previously saw in the video that we created a pie chart which provided us the sales percentage and the sales amount on the basis of the category. Now there are two things, as we know, in our data set that are present for grouping the data, that is category and subcategory. So here we have category and then we have subcategory. So what I want to do is I want to create separate pie charts for three separate categories. Firstly, in the furniture category chart, I want the different subcategories that are part of the furniture, and then I want them to show me that what is the total sales that is being done in each of these categories, right? Similarly, I want to create it for office supplies category and then for the technology category. Now, instead of creating three charts, each for separate categories, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a single chart. With the help of the batch chart option, Alteryx would automatically create copies of the same chart for me, right? So let us see how we are going to do that. Here what we have is three tools: the input tool, the chart tool, and the browse tool. So first of all, let's just go to the interactive chart tool, click on configure chart option in the configuration panel to open up this interactive chart. Okay, now first of all, you need to go to this batch option, and by default it would be turned to off, so you need to click here to on. It would ask you to select the columns through which you are going to group by your options. So I'm going to group them by category. So from the drop down, you can just select category. If you want another field through which you want to group it by, so you can select the second field as well. If you want custom title for the batched charts, that you can do, but I'm not just going to go with it. The category is written and I'm fine with it. Okay, next go to the layers option, click on add layer, and let's just provide it a name like pie chart. Okay, now select the type to pie For the values, what I'm going to do is select the sales value, and let's just give it a few seconds till it is going to fetch all the records from the sales and put them over here. So this kind of a chart is being generated, which is of course very difficult to understand because it is not a correct chart. Then what I'm going to do in the labels column, I am going to select the subcategory. So now our chart is clean, and what we are getting over here is the name of the category, which is furniture. Now in this furniture we have 4 subcategories: the chairs, which is represented in the blue color, tables represented in the orange color, bookcases represented in the green color, and furnishings represented in the red color. So the total sales of the furniture, whatever the total sales value of the furnitures was, it has been bifurcated into these 4 subcategories, and it has taken the percentages as this. So in the furniture, most of the sales has been done by chairs, that is 43.6%. Then if we just click on the second page, we would have the office supplies category, which combines these subcategories from storage till fasteners. Now in each of these subcategories, how the bifurcation of the sales has been done is being shown on the percentage basis. On the third, we have the third subcategory, which is the technology category, having 4 subcategories again with phones, accessories, machines and copiers. Now what customizations we can do over here is by going into this chart option, and in this font option, like if you want to change the font, its size, everything that you can change. Like if you want to increase the size so as to get a better look at what is happening over here. Okay, then we have layers option, through which you can just change the colors. Like these are the colors that have been taken by default, but if you want some other color scheme to be there, you want some other colors to be there, that also you can change. Okay, like this, the divergent scales are there, or the sequential scales are there to for a particular color that you can just select. Okay, then we have the slice label, that is what you want to be shown on the slice label. Right now the percentage is being shown. If you want the value has to be shown as well, that means what is the total number of sales that was done that you want to show, and the label, that means the value of the subcategory, that to which subcategory it belongs, that also you can select. I'm just going with label and percentage, not with the value part. The order is sorted, which means they are all sorted. And if you want to show the legend or not, this is the legend part. You want to show it, you want to hide it. And then if you just hover over it, then we are getting some additional information as well. So that is controlled through this hover text value. So I don't want the percentage to be shown, I just want the label and the values to be shown over here. Okay, because the percentage is already visible over here. Next we have is the chart option, which you can use to set the width of the chart in pixels or in inches. You can just select the margins and the padding color, etc., the background color of the chart, everything that you want, you can just control from here. Okay, so this is a custom color that I want. This is the title. If you want to change the title, you can change it over here using latex or using a simple text as well. Then we have the axis option, which is not being used over here. Next we have is the legend. If you want to just change the way the legend is being shown, that you can do. You can just work with its size, its color. Let me just get a black color for the legend for better visibility. Then we have the box. If you want a box to be there on the legend, the color of the border for the legend, it's going to be red. And the background color, if you want a different background color, let's just go with this kind of color. The orientation, you want it vertically or horizontally, like this. And the layer order, that what is the order of the layers, accordingly you want that or not. Okay, so this is where it is starting from storage all the way to fasteners. Okay, then you can just close this, and using the browse tool, you can just run the browse tool to get a look at the chart. So here it is how it is looking. You can just adjust it and see that these 3 charts are lined one after the other. Now let us just render this chart using the render tool. So let's just delete this browse tool for a bit. Go to the reporting, and here we have this render. In this render, what I'm gonna do is just select the specific output file and save it in the form of PNG images. 3 images would be created, and select bulk charts or batch charts. Okay, now click on save, and if you just go to that location, batch charts.png is what we are getting over here. Okay, so let me just take a look at this. So this is the kind of the image that we are getting over here, and if you just zoom in, these are being created like this in the form of a PNG image. Okay, now let's see what happens if we just store it in the form of a PDF document. So for saving it, I'm just going to select a PDF document here and just select batch charts as the name. Click on save and click on run to run the workflow so that the actual saving process occurs. Okay, now let's just see how it is looking. So here it is. 3 pages have been created for the PDF, each for a different category, along with its legend, along with its chart, along with its everything. So this is how we can use the render button to render the batch charts for us. And that's all for this video. With this, we wrap up the whole tutorial course on Alteryx as well. During this course, we learned about the different tools and their functionalities. We also got to see that what all actions we can perform through Alteryx, and we got to understand that there are a bunch of things that we can do. Now with more practice, we would be able to create really good charts for us, render them, and use it as the tool it is meant to be. So that's all for this video. That's all for this course. I hope you all learned something new throughout this course. I really hope you all enjoyed this journey. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.